In the next 4 hours, you'll learn all the English grammar concepts you need to advance from the A1 level to the C2 level. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. First, let's review the 3 most common verbs in English, the ones you'll use every day. Be, do, and have. Let's start with be. The verb to be can of course be used as the main verb in a sentence. Now don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in our free lesson PDF, and at the end of this lesson I'm going to quiz you, so make sure you watch until the end. The verb to be is the main verb. As the main verb, let's review it in the present simple. Now, it has irregular conjugations. I know you're thinking, Jennifer, I know this, but I correct these mistakes with my most advanced students, so pay attention. The conjugations are I am, you, we, they, are, he, she, it, is. I am happy. So we use the verb to be for states and emotions. What about you? I am, right now I am, fill in the adjective, hopefully it's a positive one, and put it in the comments. I am what? Put it in the comments. Practice that verb to be. You are my friend. He is a happy person. She is a doctor. It is raining. We are students. They are tired. Native speakers use the verb to be in the contracted form. You should use it too to sound more natural, especially in spoken English. I'm happy. You're my friend. He's a doctor. She's a doctor. It's raining. We're students. Notice that pronunciation. Where? We're students. They're tired. As the main verb in the past simple, it also has irregular conjugations. The subjects I, he, she, it use was. You, we, they use were. I was there yesterday. He was a great leader. She was at the party. It was a beautiful day. You were late. We were happy. They were in the garden. Let's look at the future simple. The structure is subject, will, be. Now in this case, will is the auxiliary verb and be is the main verb. But the conjugations don't change, so this is a very easy verb tense. I will be there tomorrow. You will be surprised. He will be ready on time. She will be at work. It will be sunny. We will be waiting. They will be happy. Now let's look at the verb to be as the auxiliary verb in the present continuous. I'm reading a book. He's watching TV. They're being helpful. The structure here is subject, and then you need the verb to be in the present simple. So you have those 3 options depending on the subject. Am, is, and are. And then you need your verb in ing, which is the present participle. Let's review all the conjugation options for the verb to be. In the infinitive, of course, to be. The base verb, be, you get rid of to. Present simple, am, is, are. Past simple, was, were. Present participle, being. Past participle, been. And notice that pronunciation. In American English, it's been. Let's review that last example. They're being helpful. This is the present continuous. So we have our verb to be in the present simple as the auxiliary verb conjugated with the subject, they are. And then we have the present participle. So we have our verb be in the ing form, which is being. They're being helpful. The verb to be is the auxiliary verb in the past continuous. He was watching TV. They were studying for the exam. The structure here is subject, was, were, conjugated with the subject, plus the present participle, your verb in ing. Let's review the future continuous. She will be sleeping at that time. They will be working on the project. This one's easy because you already know how to conjugate the future simple. So you take that subject, will, be, and then you add on the present participle, your verb in ing. Let's review the verb been, which is the past participle. And remember that pronunciation. Repeat after me, been, been. This is used in the present perfect tense when be is the main verb. For example, he has been to Paris. They have been friends for years. The structure here is subject, have or has conjugated with the subject, and then the past participle with the verb to be is been. The past perfect tense also uses been when the verb to be is the main verb. She had been in line for hours. So here the structure is subject, had, and then your past participle. So for the verb to be, that's been. The verb to be is also used in the passive voice. Now for the passive voice, this is when the focus is on the recipient rather than the subject of the action. She ate the cake. Is this the passive or the active? This is the active because the subject, she, is doing the action. She ate the cake. Now I want you to change this to the present passive voice. Can you do that? How would you start? She ate the cake. So we take the object, the cake, we use the verb to be, is eaten. The cake is eaten, and then you can include by whom, by her, but that's optional. So you already know your conjugations for the verb to be in the present simple, so of course you need to change them based on the subject. She ate the cake. What's that in the past passive? The cake was eaten because the cake is conjugated as it. It was eaten by her. How about the present perfect passive voice? Can you get this one? The cake has been eaten. And the past perfect? The cake had been eaten. And how about the future passive? The cake will be eaten by her. You should know how to use the present passive and the past passive because they are the most common. So focus on those two. Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson. The verb to be is also used in the subjunctive, and native speakers use this specifically in hypothetical, unreal situations. What do you think about this sentence? If I were you, I'd apologize. What do you think? Does it sound strange, unusual? I were, isn't it? I was busy yesterday. In the subjunctive, it always uses were. If I were you, if she were you. All subjects use were. But native speakers don't always follow this rule, and it's very common to hear a native speaker say, if I was you, I'd quit. So don't be surprised, but on a grammar exam, your IELTS, you should definitely say, if I were you, because that is the correct grammatical rule. Now you know all the conjugations you need to know, but remember the verb to be is also used in many expressions and idioms. So I'm going to teach you some common ones, but we're going to do this as a quiz at the same time. To be on cloud nine. This means to be extremely happy or elated. She on cloud nine when she passed her IELTS. Now, how can you complete this sentence in the past simple? She on cloud nine. Put it in the comments. She was on cloud nine. Did you get it? To be in hot water. This means that you're in trouble. They have in hot water lately. Complete the sentence with the present perfect. Do you know what this is? They have, put it in the comments, they have been in hot water lately. Did you get that correct pronunciation? Been. To be in the same boat. This is in the same situation or circumstance as someone else. We in the same boat. Easy, right? Present simple. What's the answer? Put it in the comments. We are in the same boat. This is easy for you. To be on the ball. This means to be alert, competent, well prepared. If he had on the ball, he wouldn't have lost the client. Oh, third conditional. How can you complete the sentence? Put it in the comments. If he had been on the ball. To be under the weather. This means to be sick or unwell. Thankfully, I under the weather last week. Complete the sentence with the past simple negative. Past simple negative. Thankfully, I, put it in the comments. Thankfully, I wasn't under the weather last week. Notice I used that contraction, was not, wasn't. To be out of the woods. This is when you have successfully overcome a difficult situation. We out of the woods yet, doctor? Complete this with a question in the present simple. We out of the woods yet? What's the answer? Are we out of the woods yet? Easy, right? To be a piece of cake. This means to be very easy. This lesson, a piece of cake. This is a question in the past simple. This lesson, a piece of cake. Was this lesson a piece of cake? Now to answer, you can say, yes, it was, or no, it wasn't. So what do you think? Put your answer in the comments. Yes, it was. No, it wasn't. Our last question. How are you doing so far? To be in good company. This is when you're surrounded by people you admire. So in this community, we're in good company. Now, your test question. In good company is a great way to cheer up. You need to complete this with a gerund statement. In good company is a great way to cheer up. What's the answer? As the gerund, it's the verb ing, being. Being in good company is a great way to cheer up. So how did you do with that quiz? Share your score in the comments. Amazing job. Now let's keep going and review the verb to do. First, let's review the conjugations and pay close attention because I'm going to quiz you throughout this whole lesson. So the conjugations are irregular. The infinitive is to do. The base verb do. The present simple is do or does conjugated with the subject. The past simple is did, the present participle, doing, and the past participle, done. First, let's review the verb to do as the main verb. It's the main verb in the present simple, which is used for routine actions, activities, and tasks. As a bonus tip, you can use an adverb of frequency because this is the present simple. For example, I do the dishes every day. Every day is the adverb of frequency. In English, the verb do is used with many common activities, but there are also other activities that commonly use the verbs go or make. Some common activities that you do are the dishes, chores, homework, laundry, taxes, your makeup, hair, you do cooking, you do shopping, do yoga, Pilates, exercises, stretches, and you can do puzzles. Those are some common activities that you do, so why don't you try? I do every day. Choose one activity and put it in the comments. I do every day. Put it in the comments. You often do yoga. So here the adverb of frequency is often. He or she sometimes does puzzles. They rarely do exercises. We never do chores. Now, never means 0 times per week. So you could also say, we do not do chores. That's the negative. And to form that contraction, we don't do chores. And that will help you sound more natural. We don't do chores. Wouldn't that be nice to say? We don't do chores. So notice all subjects use do except he, she, it uses does. Now let's review the present continuous. This is for actions taking place now and planned future actions. So here are all those examples in the present simple. Let's change them to the present continuous. I do the dishes every day. In the present continuous, I'm doing the dishes right now. You can add that keyword to say is taking place right now. You often do yoga. What would this be in the present continuous? Maybe you're doing yoga next week, a planned future action. She sometimes does puzzles in the present continuous. He is currently doing a puzzle. Currently is another keyword for the present continuous. They rarely do exercises in the present continuous. They're not doing exercises now. The negative here, they're not. So notice for the negative, you just add not. We never do chores in the present continuous. We aren't doing chores tomorrow. Planned future action in the negative. In this case, the negative is in a contraction. Let's look at the past simple for past actions. The structure is subject plus did. It's did for all verbs. In the negative, it's did not do. And then as a contraction, didn't do. Didn't do. So here are the present continuous examples. Let's turn them into the past simple. Instead of I'm doing the dishes right now, I did the dishes yesterday. Instead of you're doing yoga next week, you did yoga last week. He's currently doing a puzzle in the past simple. She did a puzzle recently. They're not doing exercises now in the past simple. They didn't do exercises today. Today you can use as a past simple reference if today is finished. So maybe I say this at 9:00 p.m. They didn't do exercises today. And notice that contraction, didn't do. They didn't do. We aren't doing chores tomorrow in the past simple. We didn't do chores this morning. And again, this morning is in the past if right now it's 5:00 p.m. Let's look at the present perfect, which can be used for a completed past action that has a present consequence. The structure is subject plus have or has. So the verb have is the auxiliary verb, plus not if you're making it negative, and then you need your past participle. So if the verb to be is the main verb, it would be done. So here are the past simple examples. Let's change them to the present perfect. I know you can do this. I did the dishes yesterday becomes I have done the dishes. And now you need a keyword for the present perfect. We can use already. You did yoga last week becomes you've done yoga recently. He did a puzzle recently becomes he's done a puzzle Recently. You can keep the keyword recently. They didn't do exercises today. They haven't done, so the negative have not, contraction. They haven't done exercises today yet. You can add yet as a keyword for the present perfect. We didn't do chores this morning becomes we haven't done chores, and you can leave it there, or you could say yet. Now let's review when the verb to do is used as the auxiliary verb. This is done to form yes/no questions, which of course you're very familiar with. Do you like this video? Do you like this video? So to answer in the short form, you can say, yes, I do. So make sure you like this video. Yes, I do. Yes, I like this video would be the full answer. But of course, you could say, no, I do not. But you can form a contraction. No, I don't like this video. Remember, with the subjects he, she, it, you need to change do to does. This is for questions as well. Does he, does she watch JForrest English videos? What's the short answer? Yes, she does. So in the short answer, you remember, you still have to conjugate your verb with the subject. She does, he does. The full answer is yes, she watches, he watches JForrest English videos. And in the negative, no, he doesn't, does not, she doesn't watch JForrest English videos. In the past simple, I could ask you, did you watch my video on the verb to be? So, did you? In the short form positive, you can say, yes, I did. And remember, it's did for all subjects. The full answer is, yes, I watched your video. So you put your verb in the past simple. In the negative, no, I did not. No, I didn't watch your video. Now here's something that native speakers love doing. We love using the emphatic form to answer or ask questions. I could say, make sure you subscribe to my channel for more great lessons. Now, to answer this statement or respond to this statement in the past simple, you could say, I subscribed. Jennifer, I subscribed. To make this an emphatic statement, you add the auxiliary verb do, conjugated with the time reference, in this case, the past simple. Jennifer, I did subscribe. So the structure is subject plus did plus base verb. I did subscribe. And this simply emphasizes the action. Maybe you say to your friend, let's go to the movies because she doesn't like hiking. You could reply and say she likes hiking. That's the present simple. Or you could say she does like hiking, which is the emphatic present simple, which native speakers like using. So the structure is subject plus do or does, depending on the subject. You already know he, she, it does. She does plus base verb. Let's try this with a question. I could ask you, does this lesson make sense to you? Now to answer in the present simple, you can say, it makes sense. It being this lesson, it makes sense. Or you can sound more dramatic and say, it does make sense, which is the emphatic present simple. Only use this structure if you want to emphasize what you're saying. Now let's review how to form tag questions. You like my videos, don't you? In the short answer, you can say, yes, I do. Yes, I like your videos, the full answer. How about the emphatic answer? You can say, yes, I do like your videos. If you want to respond negatively, you can use the adverb actually to show a contrast. Actually, I don't like your videos. Let's practice with a different subject. She doesn't work today, does she? So notice, negative, positive. And then before it was positive, negative. She doesn't, does not, doesn't. She doesn't work today, does she? In the short form, you would say, no, she doesn't. The full answer, no, she doesn't work today. Now let's say you want to respond negatively and you're going to use the emphatic reply. What would that be? And you can use actually to start. Actually, she does work today. The verb to do is also used to form choice questions when you have different options. For example, do you prefer coffee or tea? But to respond, you just answer. You don't use the verb do unless it's part of the answer. So you would say, I prefer tea. You state your choice. Remember to conjugate that verb in the present simple. Does she want pizza or pasta? Again, you would just answer, I'm not sure. I'll ask her and let you know. Now let's review some common expressions with the verb to do, and I'm going to quiz you at the same time. To do someone a favor. This is to help someone with a task or a request. Can you me a favor and hit like and subscribe? What's the answer? Can you do me a favor? To do business with someone. This is when you engage in commercial activities. I'd love business with Elon Musk. How do you complete this? I'd love to do, you need the infinitive. I'd love to do business with Elon Musk. To do one's best. This is to give maximum effort. She best. How would you form a sentence? And let's say it's an emphatic past simple. What would you say? She did do her best. Don't be confused by this. She did do her best. Without the emphatic, the regular past simple is she did her best. To do a number on. This is to cause harm or damage. The harsh weather last year, a number on our garden. How would you complete this? Well, look at that keyword. We have last year, so I know I need the past simple. Did a number on our garden. Easy, right? To do the dirty work. This is to do unpleasant or morally questionable work. He always gets others the dirty work. How would you complete this? He gets others to do. You need the infinitive, to do the dirty work. To do justice to. This is to represent something accurately. This photo, justice to the breathtaking views we saw. How would you answer this in the negative? This photo doesn't do justice to. To make do, this is to survive with whatever is available. The bank didn't approve our loan, but we, with our savings. Complete this sentence in the past simple. But we made do. Here, do is used in the expression, but the verb is make, so that's what you conjugate. But we made do with our savings. What's done is done. This is a great expression. This means that you accept that past events cannot be changed. Yes, he stole our clients, but we need to move on. But this is easy because it's an expression, so you just take the full expression. You don't need to change anything. But what's done is done. To do away with. This means to eliminate. Why? The company away with the dress code. How would you complete this? Why did the company do away with? So it's a completed past action. And finally, to do the trick. This means to successfully achieve a desired result. Thanks, Jennifer. This lesson, Now I know how to use the verb to do. How would you complete this? Thanks, Jennifer. This lesson did the trick. Do the trick, so did in the past simple. Did the trick. And I hope you would agree with that. Now let's review our final verb, to have. First, let's review all the conjugations of the verb have because you'll need to know these throughout the entire lesson. And I'm going to quiz you at the end, so pay close attention. The conjugations are in the infinitive, to have, the base verb, have, the past simple, had, the present participle, having, and the past participle, had. Now let's review to have as the main verb. In the present simple, have is used for possession or ownership. I have 2 adorable cats. What about you? What is something that you have? I have, maybe it's a pet, maybe it's a car, maybe it's an interesting possession. Share something in the comments below. I have, put that in the comments. With the subject you have a turtle. She or he has, notice that irregular conjugation. He, she, it, we use has. He or she has a penguin, why not? They have a kangaroo, we have an iguana. Just remember, take a note of this. He, she, it uses has. All other subjects use have. This is in the present simple. Let's talk about the present continuous. Now this is for experiences. What do you think about this sentence? I'm having 2 cats. So our verb is have, but is conjugated in the present continuous. Of course, the auxiliary verb is the verb to be. I am, I'm, and then your verb in ing, having. I'm having 2 cats. What do you think about this sentence? This sentence is incorrect because we don't use the verb have in the present continuous for possession. We use it in the present simple. In the present continuous with have, it's about experiences. So with cats, as you saw before, you would have to say, I have 2 cats, even though it's right now. But for experiences, you can say, I'm having a great time. You're having so much fun watching this video. I hope that's true. She's having trouble understanding this. They're having a party tonight. What about this one? We're having a baby. What does that mean? We're having a baby. This means we're expecting a baby. So if this was the man talking, it would be, my wife is pregnant. We're having a baby. We're expecting a baby. Now let's review the past simple. This is used for both possession in the past or experiences in the past. I had a dog when I was a kid. Ownership, possession in the past. We had so much fun at the party, an experience in the past. She had a baby last week. This means she gave birth last week. He had a headache yesterday. An experience, you experience a headache in the past. Now let's review have as the auxiliary verb. This is used in the present perfect. I have had a busy week. The structure for the present perfect is subject, have or has conjugated with the subject. You already know that he, she, it needs has. All other subjects use have. And then the past participle. Now in my sentence, I have had a busy week. My main verb is the verb to have conjugated in the present perfect. That's why there's had, it's the past participle. But no matter what verb you use as the main verb, the present perfect always uses have as the auxiliary verb. You have been very helpful, so the verb be is the main verb and have is the auxiliary. She has won the lottery twice. He has run 2 marathons. Remember, he and she, you need has as the auxiliary verb, and then your main verb in the past participle. We have scheduled the meeting. They have left the party. Now let's review the contractions because these are very important to sound natural like a native speaker and to understand us as well. I've, you've, he's, she's, it's, we've, they've. Native speakers usually use the contractions when the verb have is the auxiliary verb. Important point, American speakers don't use the contraction when have is the main verb, but British speakers do. I've a car. I remember the first time I heard a British speaker say this, I thought it sounded so weird. I've a car, because American speakers would never say that. We would say I have a car because the verb have is the main verb. But both American and British speakers would say I've had a busy week because here have is the auxiliary verb. Let's keep reviewing have as the auxiliary verb. What do you think about this sentence? She had had a meeting with her boss. What do you think? Is this correct? Incorrect? This is correct. Do you know what verb tense this is? This is the past perfect with have as the main verb. Of course, the past perfect is used for a past action completed before another past action, so it's the past in the past. She had had a meeting with her boss before she met the client. 2 past actions. The past perfect is the first past action, the older past action. You're probably more familiar with they had left by the time I arrived. The structure of the past perfect is subject, had, and the past participle. So all subjects use had, and then your main verb is in the past participle. But the past participle of the verb have is had. That's why it's possible to say she had had a meeting with her boss. Let's review the contractions, and we'll use the verb to leave as the main verb, which will be in the past participle, left. They had left. So with the subject I'd left, you'd left, she'd left, he'd left. It is possible with the subject id left. So notice it's just id left, we'd left, they'd left. So you just add a soft D to the subject. What do you think about this sentence? I'd a dog when I was young. Is this correct or incorrect? Well, this is incorrect to an American speaker because the main verb is have. American speaker would say, I had a dog when I was young. Remember, American speakers don't form a contraction when have is the main verb, whether it's the present simple or past simple. But native speakers usually form a contraction when have is the auxiliary verb. And have is the auxiliary verb with all the perfect tenses. You already know the present perfect and the past perfect. These are the 2 most common ones. Let's quickly review the other perfect tenses. For the present perfect continuous, you have your subject, have or has, remember has with he, she, it, been, and then your present participle, your verb, and ing. The past perfect continuous, you have your subject plus had plus been plus present participle. The future perfect, you have subject plus will plus have plus past participle. And the future perfect continuous, you have your subject plus will plus have plus been plus present participle. Remember, you need to change have to has for he, she, it for the present perfect and the present perfect continuous. In all other cases, the verb doesn't change with the subject. So you would say, they have reserved a table. She has reserved a table. We have been preparing for the party. He has been preparing for the party. But remember to form those contractions. So what would the first one be? They have, they've reserved a table. She has, she's reserved a table. We have been preparing, we've been preparing. He has been preparing, he's been preparing. Now let's review negation with have. So taking have and making it negative. Let's do this as a little quiz. I have a dog. How would you make this negative? I don't have a dog. Did you use that contraction? You could say, I do not have a dog. But native speakers usually form the contraction when have is negative. She has a car. What is this in the negative? And use the contraction. She doesn't have a car. She does not have a car. We had some problems at the conference. What's this in the negative? We didn't have any problems at the conference. Did you get the contraction? Did not have, didn't have, and did you change some to any? They've had a lot of success. What is this in the negative? They haven't had a lot of success. Here you can leave a lot of. You could also say they have not had a lot of success. She's had a great day. What is this in the negative? She hasn't had a great day. She has not had a great day. They'd had problems before the launch. What is this in the negative? They hadn't had. They had not had problems before the launch. What about this sentence? I have time. How do you make this negative? You could say, I don't have time. I do not have time. What about this sentence? I have no time. What do you think about this? Correct or incorrect? This is correct and very commonly used by native speakers. The structure is subject plus have or has, depending on the subject. Remember, he, she, it, has, no, and then noun. In this case, time. This is used to emphasize the lack of something and to do it in a more dramatic way. I have no time. You could say, she has no money. This sounds more dramatic than she doesn't have money. We have no ideas. We don't have any ideas. Here, ideas, of course, are thoughts to solve problems. But if you say, I have no idea, in the singular, this means I don't know. This is very commonly used by native speakers. So if someone asks you a complicated math problem, what's 362 divided by 3.8? I have no idea. It emphasizes it more than saying, I don't know. This structure is only used in specific situations, but for now you can use it with time, money, ideas, plural, or idea, singular. Now let's review some common expressions with have, and I'm going to quiz you at the same time so you can practice all of these conjugations and structures that you just learned and learn natural expressions at the same time. To have a blast. This means to have a great time. We, a blast at the concert last time. Complete the sentence with the negative form. Do you know it? We didn't have a blast because our keyword is last night, so you need the past simple. To have a ball. This also means to have a great time. Both are commonly used. If we a ball at the conference, we wouldn't have left early. This is the third conditional. Can you complete it? Did you get this one? Well, have is the main verb. So in the past perfect, which you need, if we had had a ball at the conference, we wouldn't have left early. An advanced structure. To have the last laugh. This is when you appear to be the loser at first, but in the end, you're the winner. They rejected our proposal, but I believe in our product and I know the last laugh. As a hint, you need the future simple. Did you get this one? And I know will have as a contraction, we will have the last laugh. You'll ultimately be the winner, even though it seems like you're the loser right now because they rejected your proposal. To have butterflies in your stomach. This is when you're nervous and anxious before a significant event like public speaking. Butterflies in your stomach is normal before a job interview. Can you complete this? And as a hint, you need the gerund verb. Having butterflies in your stomach. Have as the gerund verb. To have a screw loose. This describes someone who is a little crazy, but more in an eccentric way. She might a few screws loose, but she gets results. She might is your modal, so you need the base verb. She might have a few screws loose. Like Shakira said, I'm crazy, but you like it. To have a lot on one's plate, this means to be very busy and it's very commonly used. Right now, Tony, a lot on his plate. This is easy, right? Right now, Tony has, because it's possession, and you can only use the present simple with possession. Right now, Tony has a lot on his plate. To have a cow, this is a fun one. It means to become very upset. A cow, it's just a small scratch on your car. As a hint, you need the imperative in the negative form. Do you know how to complete this? Don't have a cow. Don't have a cow. To have a heart of gold. This describes someone who is very kind, caring, and generous. Despite a heart of gold, she didn't get the promotion. What's the answer? Despite having a heart of gold, because despite is a preposition and you need the gerund verb after prepositions. So, how did you do with this quiz? Share your score in the comments. Amazing job! You've already improved your level. The verb to be is the most common, but also the most confusing verb in English. Let's keep reviewing to be at the more advanced B2 to C2 level. You already understand the sentence, she completed the report. Let's review the report was completed yesterday. So notice in this sentence, you need to use the verb to be. Of course, you're going to conjugate your verb to be based on the subject and time reference. Now, do you know why this sentence requires the verb to be? Because it's the passive voice. And the structure for the passive is subject, be conjugated, and the past participle. So you cannot say the report completed yesterday because the report is not doing the action. Of course, you can change the subject and you can change the verb that's in the past participle. You could say the report was submitted yesterday, the report was approved yesterday, or this lesson was prepared last week. But all of these sentences require the verb to be. Now, of course, you understand the sentence, Paul is the manager. Here you need the verb to be because you're using a noun complement, the manager that describes Paul's current state. But what if I were to say, Paul is to be the manager. This sentence might look a little awkward because we have the verb to be conjugated, Paul is, but then we have the verb to be again in the infinitive. And then we have the same noun complement, the manager. This is a formal way to describe an official future plan or decision. Just know it does sound quite formal, so you may hear it in official announcements. For example, the new bridge is to be completed in 2027. The president is to visit our office next week. But remember, those are formal. It is more common to use the future simple and say the president will visit our office next week, or the president will be here next week. So let's review these side by side so you understand the difference. Paul is the manager, present fact. Paul will be the manager, future fact. Paul is to be the manager, official future plan, often used in formal announcements. Maybe you say to your friend, "We missed you at the party." Now, how could you take this sentence and write it in a way where the verb to be is required? Well, you could say, "You were missed at the party." This is the past passive. Now, you might be wondering, why use the passive? Well, because it focuses more on the person receiving the action. In this case, you. You were missed at the party. So it sounds more about you and less about us. We missed you. You were missed. So you can use the passive when you want to shift the focus. I could ask you, do you need to improve your grammar? Do you? Notice this question uses do as the auxiliary verb. I could ask you a different question and say, are you interested in improving your grammar? Now notice this question uses be as the auxiliary verb. In the first sentence, the verb is to need. And in question form, it requires the auxiliary verb. In the second sentence, the structure is to be interested in. Now, because in is a preposition, you need a noun or a gerund. I used a gerund. Are you interested in improving? Because it's focused on the action. I've said this before, but remember you need to conjugate your verb according to the subject and time reference. In the present, you could say where we are. We're interested, that's always in the ed form. We're interested in learning natural expressions. In the past, you could say we were interested in joining, but we had plans that day. And in the future, you could say she will be interested in improving her English, maybe once she has more time. Let's review those answers differ and those answers are different. In the first sentence, there's no verb to be because the verb is to differ. Those answers differ. In the second sentence, you must use the verb to be because the sentence structure is to be different. Different functions as the adjective that describes it. Now, of course, you could form a negative sentence. Those answers aren't different. Or you could ask a question. Are those answers different? You understand the sentence structure. She needs to finish the report. We have our main verb conjugated and then the infinitive. You cannot say the report needs to finish. Why? Well, because the report is not doing the action, so you need the passive. And you need to use the verb to be. The report needs to be finished. So here is the infinitive passive. In this sentence, the paint needs to dry. The paint is doing the action because it's in the active voice. But if you say the paint needs to be dried, Now the paint is receiving the action. So it sounds like someone or something, like a fan, will dry the paint. Have you ever said, "Yes, I'll marry you"? Or maybe you say to someone, "I didn't know you married your high school sweetheart." Your high school sweetheart is the person you were in a relationship with when you were in high school, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. Now here in both examples, the verb is to marry. But what about this? Are you married? Are you married? And then to answer, yes, I'm married, or no, I'm not married. Or you could even talk about a past and say, I was married for over 20 years. Notice all of those use the verb to be because it's to be married. This describes a state, whether it's current or past. I was married. Now, to marry, that's the verb. This describes an action. So after you say, yes, I'll marry you, you can announce to people, we're engaged. So notice that sentence structure, to be engaged, to be engaged. This describes a state. But if you want to focus on the action, you would have to ask, when did he propose? Propose, that describes an action. Because to engage is not used in this context, the context of agreeing to marry someone. But the verb does exist, to engage. In a business context, you might say, we engaged a consultant to review our sales process. This has nothing to do with getting married. In this context, to engage is a formal way, specifically in the business world, to mean hire or contract. Sometimes I hear students say, I'm supposed to be there at 7 p.m. But this is incorrect. Yes, you have the verb to be in that sentence, but another verb to be is required. And you need to say, I am or I was supposed to be there at 7. So the structure is to be, supposed to, and then the base verb. In this sentence, the base verb just happens to be the verb to be. And this means that you're expected or required to do something. Be there at 7. Now you can use the verb expect and say, my mom expects me to be there at 7. That's the active voice. Or you could talk more focus on you and say, I'm supposed to be there at 7 p.m. This is a fixed expression. What if I said, I'd quit? I'd quit. I would quit. I'd quit. Now maybe you add to that, I'd quit if I were you, if I were you. Of course, were is the verb to be. Now this is the subjunctive form and is used for hypothetical, unreal situations. But did you notice if I were? That's because in the subjunctive, all subjects use were. Keep in mind, native speakers don't always follow this rule, so it is very common to hear a native speaker say, if I was you, I'd quit. But for your language exam, just remember the grammatical rule is, if I were you, I'd quit. Of course, you understand the meeting is starting. This uses the verb to be because it's the present continuous. You know that. What if I said, the meeting is about to start? So here, the sentence structure is to be, about, and then infinitive, to start. And this describes an immediate future. This looks similar to a past sentence structure we already learned. The meeting is to start in 10 minutes. But remember, that's for an official decision and it sounds quite formal. But the meeting is about to start is very commonly used. Maybe I ask you, can you use be correctly? But I could equally ask you, Are you able to use be correctly? So we have can plus base verb. This is for general ability. But the other structure is be able and then infinitive, to use, to go, to work. This is specific ability and it requires the verb to be in the structure. In the past, you might say, I was able to complete the project by 5. In the future, I'll be able to complete the project by 5. You can absolutely say, I agree with you. I agree with you. Just don't add the verb to be here. Don't say, I am agree with you. That's grammatically incorrect. Because the sentence structure is simply to agree with someone. No be required. You could ask someone, are we in agreement? So the sentence structure is to be. The verb to be is required. To be in agreement. Agreement is a noun. That's possible. More commonly though, you would ask, do we have an agreement? Do we have an agreement? So an agreement is the noun and have is your verb. Maybe you tell your friend, it's worth improving your English. You could also say to your friend, improving your English is worth it. So this sentence structure is to be worth it. So the verb to be is required. And this means that you receive more value compared to the cost. Whether that cost is financial, time, energy, whatever the cost is. So you might ask a friend, was getting a master's degree worth it? So was your verb to be. Was getting a master's degree worth it? And your friend could reply, it was definitely worth it. Notice you need that object it. Or maybe you're in school and you say to a fellow student, I hope the test will be a piece of cake. So in this case, I'm using an idiom, to be a piece of cake. And this means easy. Now, certain idioms and fixed expressions require the verb to be. So when you have that idiom, you need to memorize the structure and also conjugate your verb. So you would say, Jennifer, this lesson was a piece of cake. What do you think? Was this lesson easy? Well, don't worry if it wasn't, because this is an advanced topic. You now understand be at an advanced level. Congratulations. Let's review was, did, had, but we'll do this as a quiz. Which sentence is correct? A, was she tired after the presentation? B, did she tired after the presentation? The correct answer is A. Now, of course, was is the past simple of be. And in the past simple, there are two options. I, he, she, it was, you, we, they were. And I'm explaining that because you need to understand the core phrase, which is to be tired. And in the past simple affirmative, with the verb to be, we use subject plus was or were. She was tired after the presentation. They were tired after the presentation. And in the past simple negative, you need subject plus was, were, plus not. Often this will be a contraction. She wasn't tired after the presentation. They weren't tired after the presentation. And as a past simple question, was, were, plus subject. Was she tired after the presentation? Were they tired after the presentation? So here it's important to know that tired is an adjective. And it's not do plus adjective. It's be plus adjective. Which sentence is correct? A, did you went to the meeting yesterday? B, did you go to the meeting yesterday? The correct answer is B, did you go? Now, the main verb here is to go. And in the past simple question form, we need did as the auxiliary verb. Did plus subject plus base verb. Did you go? Did you watch a movie last night? To answer negatively, what would you say? No, I didn't watch a movie. So the structure is subject plus did plus not, that contraction, didn't, plus base verb. And to answer positively, yes, I watched a movie. So the past simple affirmative is subject plus past verb. So it's either an ed or an irregular verb. Which sentence is correct? A, I watched a movie. B, I did watch a movie. Well, both are correct. I watched a movie. This is the past simple. You already know the structure. I did watch a movie is grammatically correct because this is the emphatic past simple. Now, we only use the emphatic past simple to clarify or emphasize. It's not that commonly used, but it is possible. For example, if someone says, "You didn't watch the movie, right?" So they're assuming information, but you want to clarify. You could say, "Actually, I did watch it." And you can add to that, "Sorry, I was bored," because it's to be bored. Bored is the adjective, so you need the verb be. Or you can simply use the past simple and say, "Actually, I watched it." So if you ever see "I did watch it," "I did go," that is grammatical. It's the emphatic past simple. Which is correct? A, we had a great time. B, we did a great time. It's A, we had a great time. So here the structure is to have. Have is your main verb. An, adjective, in this case great, and then time. Now this is a fixed expression. You simply have to memorize expressions that use be, do, have, and this expression uses have. So in the past, you could say, "We had a terrible time at the party." So you can use any adjective, positive or negative. Or you could say, "She had an enjoyable day at the beach." So day represents time. Which is correct? A, had you a great time at the party? B, did you have a great time at the party? The correct answer is B. Remember, our structure is still to have, an, adjective, time. That's the structure. So in the past simple question form, you need did as your auxiliary verb, the subject, and then the base verb. Did you have? And then the rest of the structure. You might ask, did the kids have an exciting afternoon at the amusement park? And then you can reply back positively and say, "Oh yes, they had a blast." So I answered with a different expression. And this expression is to have a blast. But a blast means a great time. Which is correct? A, he wasn't late. B, he didn't late. The correct answer is A, he wasn't late. So the base structure is to be late. So you could say he was late in the positive, he wasn't late in the negative, and in question, was he late? Now you cannot say he didn't late, but you could change it and say he didn't arrive late, because here the verb is now to arrive. So in the positive, he arrived late. In the negative, he didn't arrive late. And as a question, did he arrive late? Which is correct? A, I was at the office yesterday. B, I did at the office yesterday. The correct answer is A. So here we have to be plus location. She was at home. They were at the restaurant. But you could change the structure and use do plus tasks. For example, I did the paperwork while I was at the office yesterday. Or did you buy paper when you were at the store yesterday? Which is correct? A, I did some chores yesterday. B, I had some chores yesterday. Do you know? Well, both are correct because you can do chores. This means to perform or complete chores. So I'm actually scrubbing the toilet. I'm doing chores. To have chores, this means that you're responsible for chores. So someone assigned me the chore of scrubbing the toilet. So I could say, I had a long list of chores yesterday, but I didn't do any of them. Just because you have chores doesn't mean that they'll get done. We all know there are many chores we have, but that we haven't done. Which is correct? A, I had a dog when I was a child. B, I was having a dog when I was a child. The correct answer is A. Our verb is, of course, had to show possession in the past. And remember, the verb have, when it represents possession, it's a state of verb, which means it doesn't go in the ing form. You would say, she had a car before she got her license, or they had a house downtown when they first met. To make these negatives, she didn't have a car before she got her license, or as a question, did she have a car before she got her license? Which is correct? A, she had a great time when you called. B, she was having a great time when you called. The correct answer is B. This is the past continuous and is for a past action in progress. Now, when have is for possession, it's a state of verb. But when have represents an experience, it's a regular verb, which means you can put it in the ing form. So you would say, I had a cat when I was a kid, because that's possession. You could say, I was having the weirdest dream when the alarm went off. So in this case, I'm experiencing the dream. I'm not possessing it. And that's why it can be in the ing form. You can absolutely say she had a great time at the party last night. You would simply use the past simple to show a completed past action. Which is correct? A, she was born in Italy. B, she did born in Italy. Hopefully you know that A is correct because it's to be born. I was born in 1990. Was your daughter born in this hospital too? Or as a negative, she wasn't born here. Which is correct? A, why did you cancel the order? B, why was you cancel the order? The correct answer is A. The verb is to cancel, and this is an active verb. Why did you cancel the order? Now, you could use a different structure to be canceled, which is the passive form. Why was the order canceled? But you cannot say, why was you canceled the order? In the active voice, you could ask, when did you submit the report? In the passive, when was the report submitted? Which is correct? A, had you eaten before the workshop began? B, did you eaten before the workshop began? The correct answer is A. This is the past perfect. It's for an earlier past action. So the structure is subject plus had plus past participle. He had saved the data before the crash. In the negative, subject plus had plus not plus past participle. He hadn't saved the data before the crash. And in question form, had plus subject plus past participle. Had he saved the data before the crash? Which is correct? A, the software update did successful. B, the software update was successful. The correct answer is B, because the structure is to be successful. You could say, this lesson was successful. You could also say, my students had success with this lesson. So notice here, I'm using the verb have, but I'm using a noun to have success with something. Now, because here have is the main verb, in a question form, I would ask, did you have success with the new software? More commonly, you would ask, were you successful to be successful? Were you successful with the new software? Great job mastering the A-level concepts. Let's move on and talk about an important grammatical structure in English, verb plus ing, which is the gerund verb. And let's discuss this topic from the A1 all the way to the C2 level. Let's review look forward to, because I see so many mistakes with this expression even though it's used daily by native speakers. I look forward to watching your videos. Hopefully that's what you're thinking right now about my videos. So if you are, put that's right, put that's right in the comments. Now, did you notice I said watching, but you see to? So most students think it's to watch, but that would be incorrect because in this sentence, to is a preposition. It belongs to the expression. Now, when I say I need to watch your videos, Jennifer, to improve my English, here to is an infinitive marker. It's not a preposition. So to watch is the infinitive. But look forward to is a preposition, and the grammatical rule is preposition plus gerund, your verb in ing. That's why you need to say, she looks forward to seeing the Eiffel Tower. We looked forward to seeing the waterfall. So did you notice, look is your main verb. So that's the verb you need to conjugate. She looks. We looked. The verb that follows to is in the gerund, seeing. Let's review this sentence. Swimming is my favorite activity. I see a lot of mistakes and confusion with this sentence structure. Notice here, swimming is in the gerund. And in this case, the gerund functions as the subject of the sentence. So swimming is the subject, which means grammatically it actually functions as a noun because a subject is a noun. So here we have gerund, which functions as the subject. Now, because that's the subject, we still need a verb. Swimming is my favorite activity. Now, we start a sentence with the gerund to make a general statement or to give general advice. For example, eating healthy is good for you. That's a general statement or general advice. It doesn't apply to all situations, maybe, but it's general. Or, again, general, reading improves your vocabulary. Also, you need to know that one gerund is a singular verb. Traveling to different countries broadens your perspective. You may see countries which looks plural, but remember the subject is the gerund. Traveling is one concept. Broadens, that's third person singular. Now, if you have two unique gerunds, you need a plural verb. So you might say swimming and running. Now your subject is they. They are great forms of exercise. Let's review the structure where you have go plus gerund, because you would say, I go swimming every weekend, because swimming is a great form of exercise. So I go swimming. Here you have the conjugated verb, which is go, plus the gerund verb, which is always in ing. So she went, that's go in the past simple. She went, now we need a gerund for an activity. She went dancing yesterday. We are going, the present continuous. We're going, now your gerund. We're going surfing tomorrow. Now this structure of go plus gerund is used with specific verbs of movement. This is not an exhaustive list, but the most common are swimming, running, jogging, dancing, shopping, hiking, camping, fishing, skiing, surfing, skating. Do not say, I go to shop every weekend, because this is on the list. I go shopping every weekend. Let's review enjoy plus gerund. Because you probably know you can say I like cooking with the gerund, but you can also say I like to cook with the infinitive. So here you can use the gerund or the infinitive with certain verbs of preference like, love, hate. But that does not apply to enjoy. You cannot say, I enjoy to cook. You must say, I enjoy cooking. So only use the gerund with enjoy, don't mind, and can't stand, which are very common verbs of preference. So you can say, she doesn't mind, and now any gerund, working late. This means it doesn't bother her, even though it sounds like something negative, working late, but it doesn't bother her. Or how about this? He can't stand being stuck in traffic. If you can't stand something, you really dislike it. Now let's review avoid plus gerund. She avoided meeting him after work. Here, avoid is a gerund verb, which means after avoid, the next verb must be in the gerund form, the ing form. But keep in mind, the verb avoid is conjugated with the subject and time reference. He avoided, that's in the past. He avoided seeing his new client. Or in a question form, are you avoiding? In the present continuous, are you avoiding calling your boss? So it's very common to see an ing plus an ing because the gerund verb may be conjugated in the present continuous, but then the next verb must be in the gerund. And just so we're clear, avoid means to stay away from someone or something perceived as negative. You could say she avoids in the present simple because it's a routine. She avoids drinking coffee late at night. Or they're avoiding driving downtown because of traffic. Now you could also say they're avoiding downtown because of traffic. So here, downtown is a noun. A verb isn't always required in English sentence structure, but when it is required for the examples you're learning today, you must use the gerund. Let's review discuss plus gerund. They discussed moving to another city. Make sure you do not say they discussed about moving to another city. I see this mistake, but this mistake isn't because of the gerund, it's because the student added an additional preposition about, which is not required. And I see this mistake because you would equally say they talked about. They talked about moving to another city. So in this case, you must use the preposition about. And the reason why you're using a gerund is because grammatically, preposition plus gerund. But in the case of discuss, there is no preposition, but discuss is a gerund verb. So we have to discuss plus gerund, or you could use a noun. We discussed starting the new project, gerund verb. We discussed the project, noun. Here's one I see lots of mistakes with. Suggest plus gerund. He suggested hiring a new accountant. Suggest is a gerund verb. Remember, that means suggest is conjugated, but the verb that follows is the gerund. Do not say he suggested to hire a new accountant. And definitely do not say he suggested me to hire a new accountant. But you can use a different sentence structure. You can say he suggested I hire a new accountant. So in this sentence structure, we have suggest plus clause. A clause is a full sentence, subject, verb, object. Now this same rule applies for suggest and recommend. They're both gerund verbs. He recommended hiring a new accountant, or the alternative structure, he recommended we hire a new accountant. Let's review the verb consider. You need the gerund. We considered changing jobs. So consider is a gerund verb. Remember, you conjugate consider, the next verb is in ing. She's considering, so that's the present continuous. But you still need a verb, and that must be the gerund. She's considering applying for the promotion. Now, both consider and contemplate are gerund verbs. So you can say, have you contemplated? Now we need a gerund. Moving abroad. To consider, this means to think carefully. To contemplate, this means to think deeply or seriously. So you can think of it to think very, very carefully. You can say Sarita is considering switching internet providers. More of an everyday decision. But Marshall is contemplating starting a new business. This takes deeper thought and more serious thought. Now let's review be used to plus gerund. Please pay attention because I see so many mistakes with this. We're used to living in a cold climate. So here, be is the conjugated verb. To functions as a preposition, just like look forward to. That's why you need the gerund. She's used to waking up very early. Now, why are we using this structure? Be used to is a feeling of comfort with something difficult. Waking up very early is difficult, but she does it so often, it's routine, and she's comfortable with that. She's used to it. She's used to waking up early. Do not confuse what I just said with this sentence. She used to wake up early. So here we have use plus the infinitive, to wake up. This is a routine past action. She did it in the past, she doesn't do it now. Different structures, different meaning. Now with be used to, you can use a gerund or you can use a noun, which is very common. She's used to driving in traffic. She's used to being stuck in traffic, or simply she's used to the traffic. Let's review keep plus gerund. My boss keeps asking me to stay late. Keep is a gerund verb. Remember, you conjugate keep and the following verb is in the ing form. She kept forgetting her keys, so she bought a keyless lock. Why does he keep calling you? You just have to keep trying, right? Hopefully you already recognize that as a gerund verb. Let's review dedicate time to plus gerund. I dedicate 2 hours. So that is the time. You can be specific or general. I dedicate 2 hours to studying English every day. So in this example, to is a preposition, and that's why you need the gerund verb. You might say, we dedicated, remember dedicate is what you conjugate, we dedicated the weekend, that represents time. We dedicated the weekend to cleaning out the garage, to doing something. Now you can dedicate time, energy, effort, or resources. He dedicates all his energy to training for the marathon. She dedicates a lot of effort to learning new skills. Our company dedicated our resources to helping the local community. Now, this same applies to dedicate, devote, or commit. And X being time, energy, resources, to, and then doing something, the gerund. I'm committed to helping you improve your English. You're devoted to watching my lessons. Hopefully that's true. Now, a similar expression, but I want to make sure you see it clearly, is spend time. So before we saw devote or dedicate time, but you can also spend time plus gerund. I spend time studying every day. We spent our weekend painting the living room. Or you can use this in the negative. He doesn't spend much time exercising. Now, I will ask you a question and I want you to answer it in the comments. How much time do you spend practicing English? Share it in the comments. To get to that advanced level in English, you need to use irregular verbs correctly. There are many in English. Now you'll master the 50 most common irregular verbs. Now, as we're going through these irregular verbs, I want you to stop when you get to a verb that is new to you, and I want you to leave an example sentence in the comments so you get some practice with this new irregular verb, and you'll remember it a lot better. The first verb is the most common verb in English, the verb to be. To be, was or were, been. Notice for the past simple, we have two choices, was or were. Your choice depends on the subject. I, he, she, it was. Yesterday, I was sick. Yesterday, he was sick. Were is for you, we, and they. We were sick yesterday, they were sick yesterday. The participle been, I haven't been sick in years. Become, became, become. Yesterday, I became sick. Have you become sick? Begin, began, begun. I began the project 2 weeks ago. Have you begun the project yet? Bring, brought, brought. She brought chocolates to the party. She had already brought the chocolates by the time I came. Buy, bought, bought. She bought new shoes last week. She had bought the shoes before she got the promotion. Choose, chose, chosen. Notice the pronunciation difference between our base verb, choose, and the past and the participle. Choose, chose. Oo, oh. Choose, chose, chosen. She chose me for her team. Who had chosen that book? Come, came, come. She came home late. Has she come to the party yet? Do, did, done. I did the chores. Have you done the chores? Drink, drank, drunk. She drank the entire bottle. She's drunk 2 bottles so far. Drive, drove, driven. Who drove you here? I was driven by my friend. Eat, ate, eaten. I ate early yesterday. Have you eaten yet? Fall, fell, fallen. She fell really hard. She had fallen before it rained. Feel, felt, felt. I felt bad. I haven't felt fabric like that before. Find, found, found. I found 10 bucks on the street. Have you ever found money before? Fly, flew, flown. They flew to Paris last week. I've flown 5 times this year. Forget, forgot, forgotten. Oh no, I forgot to buy milk. Have you ever forgotten someone's birthday? Get, got, or gotten. You can use either one in the past participle form, got or gotten. Gotten is more common in American English. Yesterday, I got a speeding ticket. Have you ever gotten a speeding ticket? Give, gave, given. I gave her a box of chocolates. Have you ever given someone chocolates? Go, went, gone. Such a common verb, but I hear a lot of mistakes with the verb go. Go, went, gone. Yesterday, we went to the store. They've been gone for 20 minutes. Have, had, had. She had a great time yesterday. We've had a great time since we got here. Hear, heard, heard. Yesterday, I heard the best song. Have you ever heard that song? Keep, kept, kept. The politician kept his promise. Have you kept your photos from your trip? Know, knew, known. I knew she did it. I've known him for 10 years. Leave, left, left. She left at 5 o'clock. She had already left by the time I came. Lend, lent, lent. I lent him some money. Have you ever lent anyone money? Let, let. That one's easy. She let me keep the money. I've let 5 people into the room so far. Lose, lost, lost. I lost their number. Have you ever lost your wallet? Make, made, made. They made a terrible mistake. Have you ever made a promise that you didn't keep? Meet, met, met. We met last week. Have you met Fred yet? Pay, paid, paid. I already paid the bill. She had paid the bill by the time I got back from the bathroom. Put. That one's easy. I put my new shoes in the closet. Have you put away your groceries yet? Read, read, read. Notice the spelling is exactly the same, but the pronunciation changes. Read, read, read. Yesterday, I read my book for 20 minutes. Have you read his autobiography yet? Run, ran, run. He ran a marathon last week. We've run 3 tests so far. Say, said, said. Who said that? She had said that before our conversation. See, saw, seen. I saw a movie last week. Have you seen that movie yet? Sell, sold, sold. We sold our car. Have you sold your house yet? Send, sent, sent. We sent the package last week. Have you sent the package yet? Sing, sang, sung. She sang in the shower yesterday. Have you ever sung in the shower? Sit, sat, sat. She sat down and broke the chair. Have you ever sat beside someone famous? Sleep, slept, slept. I slept terrible last night. Have you ever slept outside? Speak, spoke, spoken. Who spoke at the wedding? I haven't spoken to her in years. Stand, stood, stood. He stood me up. Have you ever been stood up? When someone stands you up, it means you made plans with someone, usually romantically, like a date, but the other person didn't show up. They didn't come to the restaurant at 7 o'clock like they said they would. So, have you ever been stood up? Or have you ever stood someone up? Hopefully not. Swim, swam, swum. I swam in the ocean last week. I haven't swum in the ocean for 5 years. Take, took, taken. She took our photo. Have you taken anyone's photo before? Teach, taught, taught. She taught them how to use irregular verbs. Have you ever taught someone how to use irregular verbs? Tell, told, told. She told me the truth. Have you ever told a lie? Think, thought, thought. I thought it was a good idea. Have you thought about moving? Understand, understood, understood. I understood her explanation. Have you understood all these irregular verbs? Wear, wore, worn. She wore her green dress to the party. She hasn't worn her blue dress yet. Write, wrote, written. I wrote the answer in my notebook. Have you written the essay yet? Amazing job. An important part of improving your level is using more advanced sentence structure. So now let's focus on B2 to C2 sentence structure, and we'll do that by discussing adverbs. The most common adverb that natives use in our daily speech is actually. Actually. This is used to correct, clarify, or add surprising information. I hear a lot of students use this adverb, but they're not using it correctly. Now, when you're learning adverbs, you also need to pay attention to where they come in the sentence. So I'll share the different placements naturally in the examples I give you. Now, remember that actually is used to clarify or correct information. So let's say someone says, "Would you like a cup of coffee?" But you want to clarify or correct the assumption that you like coffee. So you can start with actually, I don't drink coffee anymore. Or again, maybe someone asks you, when are you calling Sarah? But you want to correct or clarify this and say, actually, she called me this morning. You can place this adverb before the main verb and say, I actually like working early in the morning.
People have actually been working on this for like decades.
Natives commonly use this in the end position. So maybe someone asks you, how long have you known John? And you want to correct or clarify this. We just met. Actually. So you can add it at the end. So as we go through this lesson, notice the placement of the adverbs. Before we go on to our next adverb, you may be thinking, Jennifer, what is an adverb? Adverbs modify or describe verbs, adjectives, and entire sentences. They answer how or to what degree. So you can say she spoke, but if you want to answer how or to what degree, you can add an adverb to modify the verb and say she spoke quietly, quickly, or forcefully, which of course changes the idea quite a lot. Now also notice that most adverbs end in ly. And if you want to ask me questions about this or other confusing grammar topics, and if you want to submit written and spoken exercises for personalized feedback and correction, you can do that when you join my premium coaching program, the Finally Fluent Academy. You can find the link in the description to learn more. Our next adverb is hardly. Pay attention to this one because this means almost not or very little.
There's hardly any geological activity on Mars.
You can say hardly anyone applied for the job. This means almost nobody applied. Or notice this sentence, I hardly worked this weekend. If you say this, it means you worked very little. Now compare this to I worked hard this weekend. This means I worked a lot, so don't confuse those two. In this example, hard is an adjective, not an adverb. Or you might say she hardly sleeps now that she's a mom. Again, this means she sleeps very little. Now, hardly and barely have the same meaning and they're synonymous. They're both very commonly used. So you can say, I hardly worked this weekend, I barely worked this weekend. Let's review honestly. This is used to show sincerity or mild frustration. So you might say, honestly, I don't know what to get my sister for her birthday. But maybe you say it with some frustration and say, honestly, he should have told us earlier. So in that case, it's really the tone that will let you know if you're just being sincere, honest, or if you're slightly frustrated. And hopefully you're being honest when you say, I honestly love learning English with JForrest English. Does that describe you? If it does, put that's right, put that's right in the comments. Let's say you're at a friend's house and you spilled your coffee. You say, oh no, I'm so sorry, I spilled my coffee on your new rug. And your friend graciously says, it's not a big deal, honestly. It's not a big deal, honestly. So adding it at the end is common in casual speech. And then they provide the reason why it won't stain.
Honestly, the answer is complex.
Basically is very commonly used. This means in simple terms or the most important point, or it can also mean for the most part. You can say basically we need more time. So if you had to take all the information and summarize it to one thing, basically we need more time.
Basically, I've turned stress into the enemy.
Or you can say, basically, he forgot to email them. So there may be many reasons why the client is mad, but the most important point, if you had to summarize it, you can say, basically, he forgot to email them. You can say, she's basically done with the project. This means for the most part. There might be one or two minor things left, but she's basically done, 95% done. Or you can say the client wanted a cheaper option, basically. Again, maybe there are many things the client wanted, but the most important is a cheaper option. And notice I added it at the end, which sounds more conversational and slightly more casual. Now let's review literally. This adverb is used a lot by native speakers. Some may even argue too much because it can be used as a word filler, but it is very important as an adverb. It means in a real, exact way.
Without him, I never could have played Joe Biden, literally.
So if you're describing a problem, you can say the handle literally fell off the door as I turned it. So you're letting the person know this is exactly what happened. I'm not exaggerating it. You can put it at the beginning and say, literally, the handle fell off the door as I turned it. Or again, you can put it at the end to sound more casual and say, the handle fell off the door as I turned it. Literally, this is exactly what happened. Now, native speakers often use it for emphasis, but not in a real exact way. So a lot of native speakers will say things like, I literally can't keep my eyes open. But this simply means that I'm really tired. But they say, I literally can't keep my eyes open. But that's not actually true because you can. You're just exaggerating. Or a native speaker might say, I'm so hungry, I could literally eat everything in the fridge. But again, of course, that isn't true exactly. You're not going to open the fridge and eat everything. It's just a way to exaggerate how hungry you are. Now let's review seriously. This is used to show importance, frustration, or disbelief, and it just depends on the context. So I might say, seriously, you need to subscribe to JForrest English. I want you to understand the importance of this, and seriously, you should. Or maybe you might say with mild frustration or disbelief, they seriously underestimated her. Or you can say, it's the best movie I've seen. Seriously. So in this case, you're again emphasizing that point. You're showing the importance of it.
I'm taking this way too seriously right now.
Let's review virtually. Virtually. This means almost or nearly completely. Virtually everyone disagreed with the plan. So almost everyone disagreed with the plan. Maybe there was one person out of 20 that didn't, but you can still use virtually. Or you might be describing a mall, a restaurant, a cafe, and say the place was virtually empty. So this is like saying the place was almost empty. Yes, maybe there was one person in the cafe, but at lunchtime on a Friday, you expected it to be busy.
When still, shorebirds like this dunlin virtually disappear.
Now maybe you want to emphasize the importance of this and say, seriously, the place was virtually empty. You absolutely can use multiple adverbs together. Or maybe your friend would say, becoming fluent alone is virtually impossible. It's almost impossible. Yes, some students can do it, but not the majority. It's virtually impossible. And that's why you should seriously subscribe. Let's review obviously. Obviously. This is in a way that's easy to see or understand. I use this adverb a lot, but sometimes I get in trouble when I use it because I use it somewhat sarcastically or with frustration, and my husband doesn't appreciate when I say obviously to him.
Obviously, I've had a lot of time to think about it.
So you may say, obviously, we need to fix this bug before the client arrives. But again, if your boss or your colleague says that to you, there may be a hint of frustration or a sense of, why are you even asking me this? Obviously, we need to do this. Or maybe if you're describing someone's performance, you can say, she didn't spend much time preparing for the interview, obviously. That's easy to see because she did a poor job answering our questions. Now you can also use this to strengthen a statement and say, that's obviously not true. So if someone is trying to tell you something, but there's clear evidence to the contrary, you can say that's obviously not true. And here's an example where I use it and then my husband reminds me that maybe it wasn't the best choice on my part. He comes in and says, do you need help with dinner? In a very nice, helpful way. But I'm busy doing 10 things at once. And I turn to him and I say, obviously, clearly it's easy to see. So be careful when you use this. Let's review especially. Especially, this means more than others and it's used to emphasize. So you can say, I love sushi, but then you want to emphasize one specific type of sushi and say, especially salmon rolls.
The area became especially sacred to the Lakota people.
Or we love the movie, especially the ending. So the entire movie was great, but this one part that you want to emphasize, the ending, especially the ending. Or you can say sleep is especially important for new moms. So notice here, sleep is important for new moms. Important is an adjective. Remember, adverbs can modify adjectives to make it stronger. Sleep is especially important for new moms. It's important for everyone, but especially new moms. Let's review apparently. Apparently. This is based on what seems to be true, but keep in mind, it's not verified.
which is apparently very, very, very small.
So if your coworker says apparently the meeting was canceled, you should still confirm, because if your coworker used apparently, they're letting you know, I think this is true, but I'm not 100% positive. So if you want to guess at a reason or motivation, you can say she apparently didn't get the message. Again, not verified. Or in gossip, they're breaking up, apparently, because you don't know this to be true 100%. Let's review probably. Probably. This means more than a 50% chance. So why didn't Ted update the Excel? Probably he forgot. He probably forgot. He forgot, probably. So notice those different placements. And this is saying, well, I'm just guessing, and there's a 50% chance I'm right, but then there's also a 50% chance I'm wrong. So if someone says to you, I'll probably come to your party, that's not a good sign.
You'd probably be a little stressed out.
And when sharing plans, but you want to make it sound like you're undecided, you can say, we'll probably just stay home all weekend. Now, what you want to hear in many cases is definitely, definitely. This means for sure, without question, 100%. I'll definitely come to your party. That's what you want to hear. So if I ask you, are you going to watch my next video? I want you to just say definitely. You can say that one word, put it in the comments, or you can add the full sentence, definitely, I'll watch it, your next video. I'll definitely watch it. I'll watch it, definitely.
We definitely didn't do this the correct way.
Let's review. Absolutely. This is for strong agreement. It's very similar to definitely. So you can say absolutely, I'll help. Or I absolutely agree with you. Now, definitely, you're expressing certainty about events or actions, and absolutely, you're showing strong emphasis, agreement, or intensity of feeling or opinion. An important adverb for you is frequently. Frequently. This means happening often or repeatedly.
It's frequently a close call, as it was this time.
You can use this at the beginning. Frequently, my students ask me how to permanently remember vocabulary. I get this question a lot, repeatedly. Or my students frequently ask me for lessons on phrasal verbs. Again, every day I see this request. Or you can say he travels for work frequently. Now, frequently is a key word for the present simple. So those three examples were in the present simple. Let's review immediately. Immediately, this means right away without delay. Immediately call the doctor if you feel unwell. So there's a sense of urgency in this. Or you can say, I immediately started working on the project. Now, if someone asks you, can you make sure the boardroom is set up before the meeting? If you want to show a sense of urgency, you can reply back and say, I'll do that immediately. So that's a great adverb for you to use if you want to express urgency.
He immediately went home, which took him a lot of time.
Let's review eventually. Eventually. This means in the end, after some time or delay. So you can say, eventually, she found a new assistant.
Eventually, he landed a six-figure job at a blue-chip tech company in Dallas.
When you use this, it sounds like it took her some time, longer than expected, to find a new assistant. So again, adverbs are very important because they express meaning. If you say he eventually agreed to the plan, it sounds like at the beginning he disagreed or he had a different idea and it took some convincing. Or if you say we got to the airport eventually, you know there's a story. There's a story about missed taxis, late Ubers, awful traffic, you forgot your passport. There's some sort of story involved. Amazing job. Let's review more advanced adverbs. First, let's review adverbs of degree. These are used to show how much or to what extent something is true. completely, completely. This is the same as totally or 100%. You can say the report is completely finished now.
So the film is completely finished.
As we're going through this lesson, I want you to notice the placement of the adverb because adverbs are flexible in English grammar. In this case, you want the adverb before the adjective. Now, the adjective here also functions as the past participle because the expression is to be finished. The verb is be, and then finished describes the state, so it functions as an adjective. You could say, I completely understand your concern. Adding completely may help the other person feel better because you 100% understand their concern. So notice here it's before the main verb, understand. So subject plus adverb plus main verb. Or maybe you're thinking, Jennifer, this lesson is completely amazing. I know you're just getting started with the lesson, but hopefully you're thinking that. Notice here, amazing, what is that? An adjective. So the placement is before the adjective. And what do you think? Is this lesson completely amazing? If it is, put yes, 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 put yes, yes, yes in the comments below. Our next adverb, slightly, slightly. This is a little, or by a small amount. So you might say the meeting started slightly late. That might make someone feel better because it wasn't completely late, it was slightly late.
I'm afraid we're slightly late.
This is before the adjective late. Or to try to reduce something, you might say this option is slightly more expensive. Notice how different that sounds adding the adverb compared to this option is more expensive. Only slightly more expensive. The placement here is before a comparative adjective, more expensive. I could ask you, could you speak slightly slower? So the placement is before a comparative adverb. Let's review these. She speaks slowly. Slowly is the adverb. She speaks slower than her friend. This is a comparative adverb because it still describes the verb. She speaks slightly slower than her friend. This is adverb plus comparative adverb. Remember that adverbs modify verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. Fairly. This is the same as moderately. It's more than a little, more than slightly, but not very, not completely. The instructions were fairly clear. So here is before the adjective and after the linking verb be.
Am I being fairly clear?
She explained the process fairly clearly, maybe not 100%, but not 10% either. This is before the adverb. I'm fairly certain we can finish this today. That makes someone feel more confident, not totally confident, but more confident. And here is before the adjective, after the linking verb be. Let's review nearly, nearly. This is almost, but not completely. We spent nearly 3 hours in that meeting. So here this is before a number, 3 hours. So it's not more than, it's a little less. Nearly 3 hours is 2.5 or even more.
Nearly $750,000.
You can tell a client the project is nearly finished, so they understand it will be finished soon. Or you say it's nearly impossible to find parking downtown at lunch. This is before the adjective, but notice the adjective is impossible. Nearly impossible means close to impossible. So it's about 95% impossible, but 5% possible. Don't give up yet. Let's move on to adverbs of manner. These are used to describe how something happens or how someone does something. Carefully, carefully. Of course, this is with attention and caution. You can put this at the beginning of the sentence and say, carefully take the pot off the stove. Or you can put this at the end of the sentence and say, take the pot off the stove carefully.
No, I think I've thought through everything quite carefully.
You can say, please carefully read the contract before signing it. This is before the main verb, read. Now you can say, please read the contract carefully before signing it. Notice the placement here. It's after the object of the verb, read. Read what? Read the contract. Read the contract carefully. Let's review properly. Properly. This means correctly, in the right way. You can use this in the negative. The consultant didn't install the software properly. This is at the end of the sentence, and this is the most common placement. You could say the consultant didn't properly install the software. That is possible. That's before the main verb. Now, if you're giving an instruction to someone in the imperative, you could put the adverb at the beginning of the sentence and say, properly install the software this time. But that would only be at the beginning of the sentence with an instruction, the imperative. Let's review smoothly. Smoothly, without problems, delays, or interruptions. This is positive. The presentation went smoothly.
Because it helps things run more smoothly.
This is after the main verb. The verb here is to go conjugated. Everything is running smoothly so far. Again, after the main verb, run in the present continuous. The transition to the new system happened smoothly. After the main verb, happen in the past simple. So notice this is a fixed expression, to go, run, or happen smoothly. Let's review gradually. Gradually. This means slowly over time, little by little. You may say, my English has gradually improved. This is before the main verb, improve. It's conjugated in the present perfect. You could put this at the beginning of the sentence and say, gradually, my English is improving, is taking place now.
Gradually, the house just became empty.
Or you can put this at the end of the sentence and say, my English is improving gradually. Let's review adverbs of time. These are used to describe when something happens. Recently, recently, not long ago. I recently started a new job. So notice this is before the main verb, and the main verb is in the past simple. You could say, recently, I've been trying to improve my sleep schedule. This is at the beginning of the sentence, and notice it's the present perfect continuous because recently it means the action started in the past and continues until now.
Recently, I've been on a bit of a personal journey.
Or you could say, we've updated the training materials recently. So you can put this at the end of the sentence, and notice you can also use the present perfect to discuss an action that started in the past and continues until now. But know that it is not commonly used with the present simple. I hear students say, I go to the gym recently. But that's incorrect because the action started in the past and continues until now. So you need to say, I've been going to the gym recently. Let's review previously. Previously. Of course, this is before now or earlier. You could say this feature was previously unavailable. So notice your verb is in the past because previously is in the past and the placement is before the adjective unavailable. This is very commonly used in job interviews or to discuss our experiences. I previously worked in customer support.
This is worse than we previously imagined.
So this is before the main verb work. You can start the sentence and say, previously, I worked in customer support. Or you can end the sentence and say, I worked in customer support previously. Let's review temporarily. Temporarily. This is for a limited time, not permanently. The office is temporarily closed for renovations before the adjective. We've temporarily moved the weekly meeting to Monday. This is before the main verb move, and I know the weekly meeting will not always be on Monday, just temporarily. maybe 3 weeks, maybe 3 months. It's unknown, but not permanent. You could also say we've moved the weekly meeting to Monday temporarily and put the adverb at the end of the sentence. Let's review. Finally, finally. This is after a long time or a delay. Finally, I understand how to use the present perfect. We usually add it at the beginning of the sentence to add emphasis and to let the person know we're very excited.
Finally got through to the store.
You could also say, I understand how to use the present perfect finally at the end of the sentence, but it doesn't sound as dramatic as saying, finally, I understand. Or in an everyday example, when you don't necessarily want to emphasize it, you can put it before the main verb and say, the package finally arrived this morning. Let's move on to adverbs of probability. These are used to show how likely something is to happen or be true. Perhaps, perhaps. This is the same as maybe or possibly. Perhaps we should wait for more information. So notice this is at the beginning of the sentence. Perhaps sounds more formal than maybe. If you were to use maybe, it would also be at the beginning of the sentence. You could say, we could perhaps try a different approach. Notice this is before the main verb, and you could replace perhaps with maybe. We could maybe try a different approach. Let's review likely, likely. This means probably expected to happen. Now, if it's expected to happen, it sounds like it will be the future. She'll likely arrive around noon. So this is before the main verb and the future simple. It's likely that we'll finish today. This is after the verb to be, and notice what follows likely is a clause. This is a more advanced sentence structure. The more everyday sentence structure would be, we will likely finish the project today. Let's review unlikely, unlikely. The opposite of likely, probably not going to happen. You can use that same advanced sentence structure. It's unlikely that we'll finish today. So this is after be, and then you have a clause. The regular sentence structure would be before the main verb. We will unlikely finish the project today. Let's review certainly, certainly. This means without doubt. Certainly, that's something we should consider. So you can add this to the beginning of the sentence and it makes the sentence more emphasized. You can say, I can certainly help you with that. This is before the main verb.
I certainly wouldn't hurt anyone over him.
Or maybe you can say, Jennifer, I will certainly like this video to show my support. So this is before the main verb, and it means you will do it. Amazing job with this masterclass. Now it's time to test your English from the A1 level to the C2 level. Question 1, he left early. He was feeling unwell. The correct answer is B, because he was feeling unwell. Because is used to introduce the reason. Why did he leave early? Now, you could use although, but this is for a contrast. So you would have to change the sentence and say he stayed late although he was feeling unwell. Or you could say despite, because this is also used for a contrast, but again, you would have to change the sentence and say he stayed late despite feeling unwell because you need a gerund. If you used on account, you need to add extra words because this is incomplete. He left early on account of the fact he was feeling unwell. Don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Question 2, they had the house last month. The correct answer is C, they had the house repainted last month. This is a causative sentence. And when you have a causative sentence with have, the verb is in the past participle form, which is why you need repainted. Question 3, Anvil did a great job on the presentation, Maria said sarcastically. Which is true? D is true. Maria is not pleased with Anvil's work. To answer this correctly, you need to know what sarcastically means. This is in a way that means the opposite. So she would say it like, oh yeah, Anvil, he did a great job. Obviously, it means the opposite. It's sarcastic. Question 4, which of the following uses the proper order of adjectives? A delicious warm chocolate cake. For order of adjectives, first you have an opinion. Delicious, that's an opinion. And then you have a temperature, warm. And then you have the material, chocolate. A delicious warm chocolate cake. Question 5, yesterday she, the budget. The correct answer is C, cut. Cut is an irregular verb. All 3 conjugations are cut in the base form, cut, in the past simple, cut, and in the participle, cut. Question 6, she accepted the job. Your task is to rewrite this into the emphatic form. You can put it in the comments or you can simply say it out loud. She did accept the job. This is the emphatic form. It emphasizes the action. So the structure is your subject, your auxiliary verb conjugated, in this case did, because it's the past simple. We know it's the past simple because she accepted, that's the past simple. And then you need the base verb. So accept is our base verb. And then the object, the job. She did accept the job. Question 7, freedom of speech is an important aspect of democracy. The correct answer is no article. Articles are difficult in English, I understand. This is no article because freedom of speech is a general concept. It's not something specific and it's not countable. So no article. Question 8, the man, the lecturer, is our new manager. The correct answer is B, giving. This is the present participle clause used to describe the man in the present. Question 9, never, it snow in June. The correct answer is A, never have I seen it snow in June. After negative adverbs like never, inversion of the subject and verb is required. Question 10, if you had called me earlier, I able to help you move. The correct answer is D. I would have been able to help you move. You knew this one, right? This is the third conditional. It's used for an unreal past situation because you didn't call me earlier, so it's now impossible for me to help you move. It's an unreal past situation. How are you doing so far? Question 11, she always brings extra copies of her resume to every job interview. The correct answer is B, a few. A few is a small quantity of. Now, although A, few, is grammatically correct, it focuses on lack. but we want to focus on the copies she brings and just specify it's a small quantity, so a few. Question 12, which of the following is incorrect? The correct answer is C. C is incorrect, even though I hear students say this every day. Do you recommend me? That is incorrect because recommend does not take a direct object. The other structures are all possible. You can review them more in the lesson notes. Question 13, which means that I routinely did this activity in the past, but not now. The correct answer is A. I used to work downtown. Notice that pronunciation, I used to. I used to. So this is the correct structure and the correct meaning.
I used to work there.
B. I'm used to work downtown is the incorrect sentence structure. And C, I'm used to working downtown is the correct sentence structure, but the incorrect meaning. This is a feeling of comfort with an activity. And D, I used to working downtown is also the incorrect sentence structure. Again, you can review this more in the lesson notes. Question 14, he said he drive me to the airport tomorrow. You need to complete the sentence using reported speech. The correct answer is B, would. Reported speech uses the past tense of will. Would is the past tense of will. Question 15, you can buy the red house. The correct answer is D, pull over. You can pull over by the red house. This means to move your vehicle to the side of the road and stop. So you could say this if you're in an Uber or in a taxi.
Pull over to the side of the road.
Question 16, when your plane is delayed, you just need to D, go with the flow. This is the only correct word order, and to go with the flow means to accept a situation as is, your plane being delayed, rather than getting upset, angry, frustrated. Just go with the flow. Question 17, Rachel kissed Ross on the same night Monica got engaged. And Monica accused Rachel of the correct idiom is B. Monica accused Rachel of stealing her thunder.
You kind of stole my thunder.
So this means to upstage someone, to take the deserved attention away from. So away from Monica because she got engaged, the attention should be on her, but the attention goes to Rachel because she did something dramatic like kiss someone. So she stole her thunder. Question 18, little that his decision would lead to widespread controversy. The correct answer is A, little did he know. Little did he know. You will hear this a lot in books. This is a literary expression and it uses inversion to emphasize the surprise or unexpected outcome of the situation. Little did he know. Question 19, he's been working here for years, but he still hasn't got the promotion he feels he is. He is entitled to. So to is the correct preposition choice. You're entitled to something, which is another way of saying you deserve something. So Monica was entitled to attention because it was her engagement party. Question 20, the manager demanded that the report before the deadline. The correct answer is C. The manager demanded that the report be submitted before the deadline. This is the subjunctive mode and it's used after demand. So our expression is to be submitted. Submitted is always in the ed form. Your verb is be. And the subjunctive uses the base verb, which is why we have be submitted. Question 21, the director team is renowned for its innovation, is giving a presentation today. The director whose team. So B is the correct answer. It's used to show possession. Now C has the exact same pronunciation but different spelling. With the apostrophe S, it represents who is, the verb to be, as a contraction, or who has, the verb have, as a contraction. Question 22, we are at the end of the grammar challenge. So to celebrate this, Jennifer would say, of course, I would say D, you rock. This is the only grammatically correct choice because the expression is to rock. Your verb is rock. You rock. A is incorrect because it is not to be rock, it is just to rock. B is incorrect. If you said you are a rock star, then that's correct because rock star is a noun, so you need that article. You are a rock star, which is true. Now, C is incomplete. You could say you are rocking, which is to rock in the present continuous, but you need to specify the object. You are rocking it, or you are rocking this test. More accurately, I would put it in the past simple and say you rocked this test. So how did you do with that grammar test? Share your score in the comments. And now let's move on to a different style of test. You'll see a real sentence with one mistake. You need to identify and correct the mistake. So let's say you want to impress your boss and you say to your boss, I hardly worked today. What is the mistake here? The mistake is mixing up, which means confusing, hardly and hard. The correction is, do you know what the correct sentence is? Remember, this is to impress your boss. I worked hard today. Hard is an adverb, and it means with a lot of effort. So if you want to impress your boss, you should say, I worked with a lot of effort. I worked hard today. Notice the structure is subject plus verb plus hard. I worked hard on the report. I worked hard to finish the report. Now, the original sentence used hardly. The sentence is grammatically correct. Hardly is also an adverb, but it means the opposite. It means barely, almost not. So if you say, I hardly worked today, it means you did very little work. So that would not impress your boss. Now notice the structure is different. We have subject plus hardly, or you could use barely, it's the same meaning, and then your verb, in this case, worked. I hardly worked on the report, you did very little work. I hardly worked to finish the report, you did very little work. So remember, use hard to show you put in a lot of effort. Sentence number 2, you need to identify the mistake. I'm extremely hardworking engineer. Again, you want to impress your boss. But what is the mistake here? The mistake is missing article with job titles. So the correction is, how can you correct this sentence? I'm an extremely hardworking engineer. So remember, singular job titles require articles. This is a rule. Your choice of article is a, and, the. I'm an engineer, of course, because engineer starts with a vowel sound. But if you add great as your modifier, as your adjective, then you need a. I'm a great engineer. Because remember, the sentence structure is article, adjective, noun. You can absolutely say, I'm the engineer, but what does this mean? This means you're a specific engineer, the one working on this specific project. I'm the engineer on the project, or you're the only engineer in the company. I'm the engineer. It's only me. Now you can think of student as a job title, and you can say, I'm an amazing student. That describes you, right? So put that's me, I'm an amazing student. You're watching this lesson, you're doing the work. So put that's me, I'm an amazing student. Sentence 3, we are 3 on the project. What's the mistake here? The mistake is using we are instead of there are. I hear this a lot from students, most likely in your native language or that student's native language. That's the structure. But in English, the correction is there are 3 people on the project. So notice how I also added the noun. Number plus noun. In English, we use there plus the verb be, conjugated, to talk about the existence of something or the number of things. So the structure is there plus the verb be, conjugated, the number, and then the noun. For example, there is 1 engineer on the project. There are, so now it will be plural. There are 3 engineers with that S because it's plural on the project. Question 4, despite he was tired, he finished the report. What's the mistake here? The mistake is using a clause after despite. So how do you correct this? You can say, despite being tired, he finished the report. This is an acceptable sentence structure, is despite plus gerund. Another correction is, do you know what an alternative way of saying this? Despite the fact that he was tired, he finished the report. So here, notice I kept the clause, but to do that, you need to add some additional words. Despite plus the fact, and then that is optional. And then the clause. A clause is subject, verb, object. It's a complete sentence. Now, a third correction is you could say, although he was tired, he finished the report. So you can use although plus clause. And although has the same meaning as despite in this context. Now there is a 4th correction. Do you know what it could possibly be? You could say, despite his tiredness, he finished the report. Because you can use despite plus noun. So, did you get any of these corrections? Question 5, what's the mistake? If I have some questions, I'll let you know. Do you know what the mistake is here? It's using some instead of any. So the correction is, if I have any questions, I'll let you know. If you have if or a negative, you use any. If you have any questions, please let me know. I don't have any questions. With a positive, you use some. I have some questions about the timeline. You can also use a or one. I have a question which means I have one question. So that's the singular because remember, some is plural. I have a question, one question about the timeline. Now this isn't just for questions, this is any noun. So if you have any issues, problems, plans, ideas. Sentence 6, I look forward to hear from you. What's the mistake? You know this one, right? It's using the infinitive instead of the gerund. So the correction is, I look forward to hearing from you. So it's to look forward to plus gerund, or you can use a noun. You can say, we are looking forward to your visit, and that's the noun. Or you can use a gerund, we were looking forward to watching the movie. So remember, you need to conjugate to look, that's your verb. And of course, to look forward to means to anticipate with pleasure. So I hope you're thinking, Jennifer, I look forward to watching your next lesson. You could also just use the noun form and say, Jennifer, I look forward to your next lesson. That's acceptable as well. So does that describe you? If it does, put that's right, put that's right in the comments. Sentence 7, I'm used to work on a team. What's the mistake here? Do you see it? The mistake is the infinitive instead of the gerund. So the correction is, I'm used to working on a team. So the expression is to be used to. Notice that pronunciation, used to, and then gerund or noun. And this is for a feeling of comfort with someone or something. For example, I'm used to making YouTube lessons. I have a feeling of comfort. You can use this in the negative and say, she's not used to speaking in English yet. She doesn't have that feeling of comfort. Let's review the structure subject plus use plus infinitive. This is used for a routine past action. I used to work on a team. They used to live in New York. Routine past action. Now you can also use the structure to get used to plus noun or gerund. So this is to talk about the transition from not comfortable to comfortable. You can say she's not used to speaking in English yet. So you can say she's getting used to speaking in English. So your verb is get to talk about that transition, and get is conjugated in the present continuous because it's an action in progress. Sentence 8, I need to understand better the requirements. What's the mistake? It's the incorrect word order. So what's the correction? You can say two things. I need to better understand the requirements, or I need to understand the requirements better. Both placements of the adverb better are acceptable. So the adverb comes before the infinitive verb, or the adverb comes after the verb and object, so at the end of the sentence. Sentence 9, I had a difficult time to contact the client. What's the mistake here? Again, it's an infinitive instead of a gerund. So the correction is, I had a difficult time contacting the client. So the structure is to have plus article plus adjective plus time plus gerund. Now you can use a positive adjective. We had, remember your verb is have, so you conjugate that. We had an easy time contacting the client. She always has a frustrating time contacting the client. Now you also use the gerund when you use to have plus problems, difficulties, or challenges plus gerund. You could say, I had problems contacting the client. Or maybe you're thinking, I had challenges learning English until I found Jennifer. Does that describe you? Put that's right, put that's right in the comments. Sentence 10, my boss has been angry in the morning. What's the mistake here? The mistake is using the present perfect, has been angry, with a specific past time reference. Now, in the morning is a specific past time reference because it represents at 9 o'clock a.m. or at 10:30. So the correction, you can say, my boss was angry in the morning, because we use the past simple plus specific past time reference, such as in the morning. Another correction, you could say, my boss has been angry since the morning, because we use the present perfect with since. This shows that the action started in the past and continues until now. And remember that since represents a starting point in time. So since the morning is like saying since 9 a.m. or since 10:30 a.m. You could also say my boss has been angry lately or recently. We use the present perfect with lately or recently to show the action started in the recent past and continues until now. The next sentence has two mistakes. So this is sentence 11 and 12. I don't know, how can I boiled this report down? Can you identify one mistake? Can you identify two mistakes? Well, let's talk about mistake one. The first one we see is using a question structure for a statement. So let's review a simple statement. I don't know how I can improve my speaking skills. Maybe you've said this, I don't know how I can improve my speaking skills. So here it's I don't know plus how plus clause. So the clause is subject, verb, and then object. Remember, that was a statement. To ask a question, you would say, how can I? How can I improve my speaking skills? So here the structure is how plus verb plus subject. So the correction for this sentence would be, I don't know how I can, and then what's mistake number two? It's the wrong verb conjugation, and in this case, after the modal. So we want modal plus base verb. I often hear students say, you should to bring an umbrella. This is incorrect because you want the base verb. You should bring an umbrella. So in this case, the correction is, I don't know how I can boil this report down. And if you're not sure to boil something down, this means to summarize the most important information. This is a separable phrasal verb. So there are three correct structures. How can I boil this report down? How can I boil down this report? Or how can I boil it down? How did you do with those questions? Share your score in the comments and we'll do the same thing. You'll see a real sentence with one mistake and you need to identify and correct the mistake. This sentence has one mistake in it. Feel free to hit pause, review the sentence, and try to identify the mistake. Now, these are real sentences by real students of mine in the Finally Fluent Academy. I review example sentences from my students every single day, and these are the mistakes that they commonly make that we're correcting in this lesson. So do you know what this mistake is? The mistake is with track record. Now we have one of the best track record. So one of suggests that there's more than one. So the noun needs to be plural. The correct sentence is, this machine has one of the best track records in its group. Our next sentence, your assignment was late. Please explain why you failed to do. What's the mistake? The mistake is leaving out the object. You need to say, please explain why you failed to do it, and it represents the assignment, which was already said. Now, even though it's obvious you're talking about the assignment, you need an object here grammatically. Our next sentence, being a great communicator in all situations set you up for success. What's the mistake here? It's set you up. This is the wrong verb conjugation because we have this gerund expression, being a great communicator in all situations. Now, students will often look at that in all situations and they think that's what you need to conjugate the verb with, but it's not. It's the gerund expression, which is being a great communicator in all situations. And all of this is the subject, it. If you had to choose a subject for it, it would be the subject it or this. This sets you up for success. So you need to add an S to that verb because it's conjugated with it as the subject and it's the present simple. Now, if you had a noun, you would say this situation sets you up for success. That's the singular noun. Or you could say all situations. Now this is plural, it's they. All situations set you up for success. So with the noun, you conjugate it with singular or plural, but when the sentence starts with a gerund verb, being, it's conjugated as it. How about this sentence? I want to run something to you. Do you know what the mistake is? Well, technically, this is grammatically correct, but it's the literal meaning. I want to run something, maybe this iPad, I want to run something to you. Now, my student, when they use this, they were trying to use the expression to run something by or past someone, which is when you share an idea with someone in order to get feedback on that idea. So the mistake here is using the wrong preposition, which can entirely change the meaning, because now it's not the expression, I want to share an idea to get feedback. Now it's, I want to literally run something to you, which is not what my student wanted to communicate. How about this sentence? Lately, I'm worried about my English test. What's the mistake? The mistake is using the wrong verb tense with lately or recently. And I hear this mistake a lot. Lately or recently means the action started in the past and it continues until now, and it might continue into the future. So what verb tense do we need? The present perfect continuous. Lately, I've been worrying about my English test. And you could also say recently, I've been worrying about my English test. Now remember that these are real mistakes that my real students in the Finally Fluent Academy have made. If you're that student who made this mistake, don't worry, because that's the whole purpose of taking lessons. I love it when my students make mistakes because it means I get to share something with them. I get to teach them something and they get to improve. So if you are also making these mistakes, don't worry. The important thing is that you're correcting them right now. And of course, if you want my personalized support, you can simply join the Finally Fluent Academy. You can check out the link in the description to learn more. Our next sentence, we need to stop problem in its tracks. What's the mistake? The student forgot the article. This is definitely the most common mistake I hear, even with my advanced students, is leaving out articles or not using articles correctly overall. So here, problem is a singular countable noun, so it needs an article. We need to stop the problem in its tracks. Now, you could also say we need to stop this problem in its tracks. You could even say we need to stop a problem in its tracks. But you need some article before a singular countable noun, unless it's one of the many nouns that are exceptions and don't take articles, which is why students struggle with articles so much, and which is why I help my students in the Finally Fluent Academy and provide this support, because the use of articles is so specific in English. Let's look at this sentence. Whenever a student joins the Finally Fluent Academy, they always introduce themselves, and one of the questions is, what do you do for a living? And a lot of students will reply back and say, I'm accountant. I'm accountant. What's the problem here? Again, it's articles. You need an article before a job title. So you would need to say, I'm an accountant. You need an because accountant starts with a vowel sound, so you need an instead of a. I'm an accountant. He's a developer. But if you were talking about a group, you could say, they're developers. They are developers. So notice in this case, there's no article, because the noun is plural, and you don't need an article with plural nouns. They're developers. So please, when you tell people what you do for a living, make sure you include the article. Otherwise, it will sound like your English is very beginner. Let's review this sentence. He has been jumping up and down for 2 hours. What's the mistake? This student wanted to use the present perfect continuous, but they didn't form it properly. So it's the incorrect structure. The correct structure is subject, have or has conjugated with the subject, which this student did, and then been, and then the verb in ing. So the student only made one mistake, but just one mistake with the structure of a sentence will make the entire sentence incorrect. The student used the verb in ing, being, when it should have been. So the correct sentence is, he has been jumping up and down for 2 hours. How about this one? You need to practice more your English lessons. What's the mistake? The mistake here is incorrect word order, because you don't practice more something, you practice something more. So the correct sentence is, you need to practice your English lessons more. You practice something, your English lessons, more. Now, if the something is obvious, you're talking about English lessons, you don't need to specify that. You could simply say, you need to practice more. So you can also use practice more, but without including the something. This is the final mistake, and it's the one that I hear the absolute most, even more than articles. This sentence is, the project doesn't go well. What's the mistake? So what verb tense is being used here? The sentence uses the present simple. But the present simple is for routine actions. And in this case, it's not a routine action. It's an action that's taking place right now. So the mistake is using the present simple when the present continuous should have been used. And this is by far the most common mistake that I hear advanced students make, the present simple. The correct sentence is, the project isn't going well. Isn't going. Is going, but in the negative. So we have our present continuous. Is going, is not going. The project isn't going well. Because we're talking about right now. Right now, the project isn't going well. You could absolutely use the present simple, but you would have to make the context appropriate. So it would need to be more of a routine action. Think of it as more of an in general. So you could say, our projects don't go well. So it's not necessarily the project right now, it's in general. In general, our projects don't go well. So just remember, right now, present continuous, in general, present simple. You're doing such a great job. Think of everything you've learned. Now share your score out of 10 in the comments. And we'll do the same thing again because it's such an effective way to quiz yourself and learn at the same time. So you'll see a real sentence with one mistake and you need to identify and correct the mistake. Sentence 1, between you and I, the project needs more attention. Now remember, in each sentence, there is one mistake. Do you know what the mistake is? The mistake is between you and I. I is the mistake because it should say between you and me. And yes, this is a real mistake that native speakers commonly make. Between is a preposition and you need an object pronoun, you, me, him, her, not a subject pronoun, I, you, he, she, it. Let's see a sentence that uses a subject pronoun, I, and an object pronoun, me. I want to tell you something. The subject doing the action. I want to tell you something. But please, keep it between you and me. You could also say, keep it between us, because you plus me equals us. Keep it between you and me. Now, this sounds like I want to share a secret with you. We have an expression in English, I won't spill the beans, which means I won't share your secret with other people. I won't reveal your secret. So keep it between you and me. And you can say, I won't spill the beans. So put that in the comments. I won't spill the beans. So the correct sentence, of course, is between you and me, the project needs more attention. Sentence 2, if I was you, I'd quit. What is the mistake? Can you see it? The mistake is was. It should be were. This is because the sentence is in the second conditional, which we use for hypothetical unreal situations. If I were you, this is unreal because I am not you and it's impossible for me to become you, so it's hypothetical unreal. Now in this structure, the second conditional, all subjects use were. If I were you, if he were you, if we were you. Keep in mind that native speakers commonly don't follow this rule and say, if I was you. But if you're taking your IELTS or if you're in any formal English situation, the grammar rule is were for all subjects in the second conditional. So the correct sentence is, if I were you, I'd quit. Now this structure is commonly used to give advice. So if your friend says, oh, I really need to improve my English, what should I do? You can say, if I were you, I'd subscribe to JForrest English. What about you? Do you agree with that advice? If you do, put me too, me too. I would also subscribe to JForrest English. Put me too, put that in the comments. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already. How are you doing so far? Our next sentence, I'm not sure whom I should speak with. There is one mistake. What is it? Do you know? The mistake is with whom. It should be who. Whom is used as the object and who is used as the subject. Did you know that many native speakers mistakenly think that whom is the formal version of who, and they use it to sound more professional, to sound more formal? But this is incorrect. There are specific times grammatically when you need to use who as the subject and you need to use whom as the object. Just think about this if the question didn't include I'm not sure. It would be who should I speak with? The sentence begins with the subject. Our next sentence, each of the candidates have pros and cons. What's the mistake? The mistake is have. It should be has. The subject in this sentence is each, which is singular. The subject is not candidates, which is plural. You could say the candidates, which is they. The candidates have pros and cons. That's correct. But when you start with each of the candidates, it represents the subject he or she has pros and cons. What about this one? The candidates each have or has pros and cons. What do you think? What do you need? Have or has? You need have. The candidates, they each have pros and cons. So remember, each of plus plural is the subject he or she, but plural plus each, the subject is they. Our next sentence, a mistake I always made when I was a kid. Me and Vanessa are going to the concert. What's the mistake? The mistake is with me. It should be I. You need a subject pronoun, I, not an object pronoun, which we discussed before, me. You need a subject pronoun to start the sentence. And notice, with the subject I, it's not I and Vanessa, which I also commonly hear students say. A native speaker would not say that, but students commonly do. I and Vanessa. No, it's always Vanessa and I. My mom, my dad, my sister, and I. No matter who your subjects are, I comes last. The correct sentence, of course, is Vanessa and I are going to the concert. Sentence 6, I see this one all the time. You better meet the deadline. What's the mistake? You better, you had better. The structure is subject plus had plus better plus base verb. And this is used to provide advice and recommendations. Native speakers make this mistake because in spoken English, a native speaker always uses the contraction. You had, you'd better. But the D is so soft that native speakers, we forget it's there. So when we write what we say. And it sounds like you better because the contraction is so soft. You'd better. So in spoken English, you don't hear it, but it's required grammatically. Without the contraction, you had better meet the deadline. With the contraction, you'd better meet the deadline. Our next sentence, another very common mistake that native speakers make. You should have called. What's the mistake? Of should be have. The structure is subject plus should plus have plus past participle. And this is used to provide advice in the past, but it's unrealized advice because it's impossible for you to take the advice because it's in the past. Again, native speakers commonly make this mistake because in spoken English, we take should, have, and we combine them together and it sounds like shoulda. You shoulda called. And we forget that the is have. It's not of, because sounds closer to of, but it's not of, it's have. You should have called. You should have called. So if your friend is upset and says, oh, I got a low score on my IELTS, you can say to your friend, you should have subscribed. You should have subscribed to JForrest English. Of course, this isn't very helpful advice because your friend can't do anything about it now. It's in the past. But maybe they can take that advice for the future. So if you agree with that, put that's right, subscribe, and the next time you take your IELTS, you'll get a high score. Put that's right in the comments. How are you doing so far? Remember, native speakers make all these mistakes, so you're learning a lot. Our next sentence. The team, including the coach and star players, were ready for the championship match. What's the mistake here? The mistake is were. Were should be was. Do you know why? It's because the subject is the team, which is a collective noun, is conjugated as it. The subject is not the noun closest to the verb, which is the players, plural, they. Remember that information between two commas is additional information. It doesn't affect the grammar of the sentence outside of the commas. And as I said, team is a collective noun, is conjugated as it. So of course, the correct sentence is the team, including the coach and star players, the team was ready for the championship match. Now, if the subject was the team, the coach, and the star players, then of course that would be were, because the subject is they. They were ready for the championship match. Sentence 9, this is a good one. She's always coming to work late. What's the mistake here? Native speakers commonly say this. The mistake is she's coming. This is the present continuous. It should be she comes, because we have always, which is a keyword for the present simple, because it's a routine action. For some reason, I don't know why, native speakers commonly use the present continuous specifically with unwanted behaviors that are routine. For example, he's always criticizing me. So to criticize, that's an unwanted behavior. It's a negative behavior. Perhaps it sounds more dramatic to say he's always criticizing me instead of he always criticizes me. Now, even though native speakers do this, it does break the grammar rule. So for your IELTS or any formal situations, you should use the present simple with adverbs of frequency like always. Your last sentence, are you ready for it? The report doesn't address the timeline nor the budget. What's the mistake? I hear this one a lot from native speakers. What's the mistake? Nor should be or. Remember, when a negative introduces the first point, use or for the second point. The report doesn't address, a negative introduces the first point, doesn't address the timeline or the budget. When the first point is neither plus positive, then you use nor for the second point. The report neither addresses, here addresses is positive. The report neither addresses the timeline nor the budget. Native speakers commonly assume that nor is used for all negatives, but that's not the grammar rule. And I've heard from some native speakers that they think nor is the formal, more professional version of or, but that's not true. You must be getting good at this by now, so how did you do out of 10? Share your score in the comments. Let's do something different now. We'll do an advanced C1 grammar test. I know you're ready for it. Here's how the test is going to work. You're going to see a question and you'll see 4 options. You have to decide which option best completes the sentence. I'll show the question for only 5 seconds, which isn't a long time, so feel free to hit pause, complete the question, and then hit play and I'll explain the answer. Are you ready? All right, let's get started with question 1. To text Sue. It's her birthday today. The correct answer is C. Don't forget to text Sue. It's her birthday today. The key word in this question is to. which is the infinitive to text. Now, there's only one possible option in the choices below where you can have the infinitive, and that's C. Don't forget to text. Now, if this question didn't have to and it was just the base verb, well, then A, B, and D would be correct and C would be incorrect. Question 2. Mary went jogging today of the rain. The correct answer is B, in spite of the rain. And that's your key word here, of. In spite of and despite have the same meaning, but you don't say despite of. You just say despite. If you want to learn more about this, I have a full lesson explaining this. I'll leave the link in the description below. Question 3. I think I'm allergic to your cat. I can't stop. The correct answer is B, sneezing. Now this is a tricky one because you can have grammatically stop plus infinitive, stop to sneeze, and you can have stop plus gerund, stop sneezing. But the meaning is different. When we're talking about no longer doing an action, we use stop plus gerund. And based on the context of the question, we're talking about no longer doing an action, so we need the gerund. If you want to learn more about this, I'll leave a link in the description below. Question 4. If you don't know the meaning of a word, you can in a dictionary. And the answer is C. You can look it up in the dictionary. Now this one is a vocabulary question because you need to understand what these expressions mean. To look something up is another way to say to search for or to find that specific information. Now we use this all the time because every time you Google, you're looking up information. So I use this expression literally every single day. Hey, what time does the restaurant close? Can you look it up? I don't know. Can you look it up? Oh, we need to look it up. We should look that up. You'll use this every single day. Question 5. My doctor, me, I should exercise more. And the answer is A. My doctor told me I should exercise more. Now this is one that students confuse a lot. I hear students say told to me, I told to her. No, that doesn't work grammatically. We don't want to someone. Get rid of that to. I told her, I told you, she told me. So that's what we need. And also I hear students say me. She said me to exercise more. No, we don't want me after said. She said I should exercise more. We want a clause after said. If you want to learn more about this, I have a full video explaining it. You can find the link in the description below. Question 6. My boss, me, to her dinner party. And the answer is B. My boss invited me to her dinner party. Now this one is both a vocabulary question because the only logical choice is invite, but it's also because of sentence structure. We could change the sentence structure and make it work. For example, my boss suggested that I come to her dinner party. We could say that, but I'd have to completely change the sentence structure. So all the options could work if we change the sentence structure. The only logical choice with the sentence structure is B. My boss invited me because you invite someone to something. My boss invited me to the movies, to her house, to the restaurant, a specific location. Now, if you want to learn more about suggested, because a lot of students say suggested me, which isn't correct, I'll leave a link to a video on that topic in the description below. Question 7. Sorry, I didn't quite what you said. And the answer is A. Sorry, I didn't quite catch what you said. This is an expression. To catch something in this context is the exact same as hear. I didn't hear what you said. But notice option D is in the past form, and that doesn't work grammatically. So it has the same meaning, but it's the wrong verb tense. So A, catch, is exactly the same. Now, this is an expression you can use all the time, especially since you probably struggle to understand native speakers. So if somebody says something to you and you don't quite catch it, you can say, sorry, I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that. I didn't quite catch that. Quite is just a word we add to mean a little bit. I didn't quite catch that. So add that to your vocabulary. You'll use it all the time. Question 8. I don't sleep in now, but I sleep in until noon on weekends. And the answer is B. I used to. I used to sleep in on weekends. Now notice all the options are slightly different sentence structures, and they're all grammatically correct if you use the correct meaning. But for here, we're talking about an action that used to take place in the past. So an action you routinely did in the past, but you no longer do now. And for that, we need use with a D. You don't hear it in pronunciation, but it's there in spelling. I used to work at the bank, but now I work at the mall. So a routine action in the past, but you no longer do it now. Students confuse this sentence structure all the time. I have a detailed lesson on this. You'll find the link in the description below. Question 9. I don't need help, but thanks. And the answer is, but thanks for offering. Thanks for offering. Thanks for offering. This is one that I hear a lot of mistakes with as well. Now notice here, I have thanks for. After for, because for is a preposition, you must use the gerund verb, for offering. Thanks for, and then you can use a gerund verb, or you can use a noun. Thanks for your help. Thanks for the offer, your offer. Thanks for offering. And your final question, number 10. The film sounded interesting, but it, to be really boring. And the answer is D. It turned out to be really boring. This is a vocabulary question because you need to understand what these expressions mean. We use to turn out when we're talking about the end result of something. So let's say you're trying a new recipe and it's for chocolate chip cookies. You've never made this recipe before. Your friend could say, how did the recipe turn out? How did the cookies turn out? Your friend is asking about the end result. Basically, your friend is asking, were they good? Were they bad? How did the recipe turn out? And you could reply, oh, it was awesome. They were delicious. The best chocolate chip cookies I've ever had. And in this context, they're talking about the movie's end result. How did the movie turn out? It was really boring. It turned out to be really boring. How did you do with that test? Share your score out of 10 and let's do something different. Now let's test your vocabulary. You have already learned a lot of new words without realizing it, but now let's focus on your vocabulary. You need to choose the correct word to complete the sentence. Do you think the discount will the client? Which option, A or B? I'll give you 3 seconds. Appease the client. Appease is a verb. We use this when you want to give someone something they want in order to make them happy or in order to prevent further disagreement. So I'm giving them a discount to make them happy. It will appease them. Now, if you said B, appeal, keep in mind that appeal has a very similar meaning. It means to be attractive to, but grammatically, the sentence is incorrect because if you use appeal, it's appeal to the client. And because I don't have the preposition to, B is an incorrect option grammatically. Question 2. She's a very employee. Option 1, option 2. The correct answer is A, diligent. She's a very diligent employee. To be diligent, this means to be careful or using a lot of effort and attention to detail. For example, I worked diligently on the report all week. So notice in this case, it's an adverb, diligently. I worked diligently on the report all week. Question 3. Sorry, I can't help. I'm at math. A or B? B, inept. I'm inept at math. To be inept at something, this means to not be skilled or to be ineffective at something. I'm inept at math. Number 4, she's the most member of our team. A or B? A, gregarious. B is incorrect grammatically. We can't say most great. You would say greatest, right? So grammatically, B doesn't work. A, gregarious. To be gregarious, when someone is described as gregarious, it means that they're very social. They enjoy being around other people. So what about you? Let us know in the comments. Would you describe yourself as a gregarious person? Do you enjoy being around other people? Are you very social? Let us know in the comments so you can practice that word. Number 5, we need to with the accounting department. A or B? The answer is B, follow up with. Grammatically, A is incorrect. You don't follow out with someone. You follow up with someone. And this means that you continue a discussion or conversation that was previously started. I could say I already followed up with the accounting department. I already continued the conversation we had previously started. Number 6, that's a difficult concept to A or B? B, to grasp. When you grasp something, it simply means that you understand it. So it's the same as saying that's a difficult concept to understand. That's a difficult concept to grasp. Number 7, you should all your debt to reduce your interest rate. A or B? B, consolidate. consolidate. When you consolidate two or more things, it means you combine them together. So if I said the two firms consolidated last year, this means that last year there was firm A, firm B, but now because they consolidated, there's one firm. So the two become one. Consolidate. Number 8, the book discusses his illness and resignation from politics. A or B? A, subsequent, his subsequent resignation from politics. This has a simple meaning. Subsequent just means something that comes after something else. So first he had his illness, and after he resigned, his subsequent resignation, his resignation that came after his illness. We commonly use this as an adverb to start a sentence. So I could say, he moved to Australia. Subsequently, he got married. And I'm using subsequently to let you know that he got married after something else, and that something else is after he moved to Australia. He moved to Australia, subsequently he got married. Number 9, he gets stressed out when he's A or B. The correct answer has to be B, under pressure, because over pressure is the wrong preposition. The preposition you need is under pressure, to be under pressure. And that's simply when you have a lot of work and you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling stressed out. You can use this positively and say, I work really well under pressure. So when I have a lot of work, I actually perform better, not worse. I work really well under pressure. Number 10, women face a lot of in the workplace, A or B. Well, ostrich is a bird, so women don't face a lot of ostriches in the workplace. They face a lot of obstacles. An obstacle is something that blocks you, and it can be something physical like a roadblock, or it can be something non-physical like discrimination. So it's something that blocks you from making progress. That's an obstacle. Number 11, thank you for your remark. A or B? The answer is B, pertinent. Pertinent remark. When something is pertinent, it means it's relevant to the topic or discussion at hand. So let's say you're having a conversation and then someone raises a point and you think the point is very relevant to the topic or conversation, you can say, that's pertinent. That's pertinent. That's relevant, related to our topic at hand. Number 12, you can that to the interns. A or B? B, delegate. You can delegate that to the interns. When you delegate something is when you give someone else responsibility for a task or a specific job. So when you're doing a task that you really don't want to be doing, you can say, I wish I had someone to delegate this to. I wish I had someone who I could give this task to. Number 13, I have a really workload this month. A or B? A, heavy. B is a direct translation. It's not something that we use in natural English. It sounds awkward and unnatural. A, heavy is the adjective that we use to describe our workload. When your workload is heavy, it simply means you have a lot of work to do. And what's the opposite of heavy? The opposite is light, right? Light. So when you don't have a lot of work to do, you would say, I have a light workload. Heavy workload, light workload. So what about you? How would you describe your workload right now? Would you say it's heavy or light? Let us know in the comments so you practice this new expression. Number 14, the police have been unable to what caused the explosion? A or B? B, ascertain, ascertain. When you ascertain something, you discover something. So to ascertain the cause of the explosion is to discover the cause of the explosion, to understand why. So when the police do understand why, they discover it, they can say, we've finally ascertained what caused the explosion. It was a faulty gas line. And then they can tell you the cause of the explosion. And finally, your last question in the quiz, number 15. You've been all week. Just do it already. A or B? The answer is B, procrastinating. You've been procrastinating all week. When you procrastinate, it means that you delay doing something, but that something has to be done, and you delay doing it. And why? Well, generally because it's unpleasant, like chores around the house, cleaning the garage, cleaning the bathroom, doing the dishes, it's unpleasant. Or it's simply boring, like organizing your closet or filing your paperwork. So you delay doing it, but it has to be done. That's procrastinating. Amazing job. So how many of those words did you know? Share your score out of 15. And now let's do something fun. Let's test your knowledge of American culture, traditions, and vocabulary just for fun. Question 1, what would an American English speaker call this? Do you know? Any ideas? We call it a Band-Aid. So if I'm at your house and I cut my finger, I would ask you, do you have any Band-Aids? Now this is a bandage, but American speakers always call it a Band-Aid because that's the brand name. The most common bandages are by the brand Band-Aid, so we just call it a Band-Aid. Question 2, a related question. And make sure you're keeping track of your score, and you can share your score at the end. Question 2, related question. What is a Band-Aid fix? Speaking of Band-Aids, what is a Band-Aid fix? Any ideas? A Band-Aid fix is a temporary solution to a problem. This is an idiom in English that uses the word Band-Aid.
Tried putting Band-Aids on it, but
I could say filling the potholes is a Band-Aid fix. The entire road needs to be repaved, which would be the permanent solution, and filling the potholes is the temporary solution, and that's why it's a Band-Aid fix. And I hope my videos help you permanently improve your English so they're not a Band-Aid fix. So put no Band-Aids, put no Band-Aids in the comments.
But it's just a Band-Aid fix.
Question 3, what would an American English speaker call this? Do you know? Any ideas? I would call it a Kleenex. Kleenex. For example, can you pass me a Kleenex? Now these are tissues, but again, the brand name is Kleenex, which is why Americans just call it Kleenex.
I need a Kleenex.
And keep in mind, we do this even if we don't use the brand Kleenex or the brand Band-Aid, we still just call it the brand names. Native speakers don't use brand names for many things, but Band-Aid, Kleenex, also Q-tips, which are technically cotton swabs. I've never called it a cotton swab, always Q-tip. Also chapstick, which is technically lip balm, but the brand is chapstick. And Tupperware, which is the brand, and it is plastic storage containers. The brand is Tupperware. So these are the main ones where Native American English speakers just use the brand name. Question 4. This is a fun one. I'm an American at a baseball game. What am I most likely eating? What am I most likely eating? What do you think? Put it in the comments. I'm eating a hot dog. That's right. Baseball and hot dogs are synonymous. Now, there are other options, but I'm most likely eating a hot dog. And if you asked this question to 10 Americans, I'm pretty sure all 10 would choose hot dog. But other common food items maybe you said are peanuts, popcorn, pretzels, or nachos. But again, most likely, I'm eating a hot dog. Question 5, another fun question. What does the tooth fairy do? American traditions. What does the tooth fairy do? Any ideas? The tooth fairy takes your tooth from under your pillow and leaves you money in return. This is, of course, for little kids when they lose their baby teeth. They take that tooth, they put it under their pillow, and they're so excited because when they wake up in the morning, the tooth fairy has left them money. And of course, the mom and dad are tooth fairy, but the little kids, they believe in tooth fairies until, of course, they grow up and realize it was their mom and dad leaving them money. Does that tradition exist in your culture, or does that sound super weird to you? The idea of putting your tooth that fell out of your mouth under your pillow and then waking up in the morning and getting money. Does that sound weird? Because traditions can definitely sound weird if they're not part of your culture. But of course, to me, that sounds totally normal, and it was a part of my childhood. So what's your score so far? Let's move on. Question 6. If I ask you to complete a task, what two words should you use to accept that task? Any ideas? Let me give you a hint. Will you do me a favor and subscribe to my channel, like this video, and share it with your friends? And to accept this task, 2 words. What can you say? Will do. Will do. Will do, Jennifer. Will do ASAP, as soon as possible. You can do it right now. Just click subscribe and like. Or if you want to sound super American and very confident, you can reply back with 1 word and say done. Done. Because you're expressing it as if you have already done it. So you're putting it in the past tense to show how confident you are that you accept and will do this task. But remember those 2 words, will do. Question 7. If I'm starting to get angry because I'm hungry, I'm hangry. You knew this one, right? I've taught this to my students in many different videos and shorts as well. I'm hangry, which is a combination of hungry and angry.
Someone's hangry.
I'm not hangry, Tito.
Question 8, another culture and traditions question. What do Americans most commonly eat on Thanksgiving? Do you know? Of course, it's turkey. Turkey is synonymous with Thanksgiving. In fact, a lot of people call it Turkey Day. If you Google Turkey Day, it will tell you the date of Thanksgiving. Question 9. What does let's Uber it? Let's Uber it. What does let's Uber it mean? Any ideas? This means let's take an Uber. So notice how I'm turning Uber, which is a noun. If you're not sure, Uber is an alternative to a taxi. I'm taking Uber, the noun, and I'm using it as a verb. Native speakers love using nouns as verbs. So instead of saying, I sent you an email, a native speaker will say, I emailed you. So using email as the verb. I'll call you on WhatsApp later. WhatsApp is the noun. I'll WhatsApp you. Using WhatsApp as a verb. Native speakers, we love doing this. But we only do it in specific situations with specific nouns. So for now, just use the 3 I taught you. And finally, question 10. How are you doing with this test? Question 10. If I answer, it's going great. What question was I asked? It's going great. What's the question? The question is, how's it going? How's it going? Great. Going great? It's going great. Those are the 3 different ways you could answer. And of course, instead of great, you can choose whatever adjective you'd like. So, how American is your English? Share your score in the comments. And even if you got 0, I hope you had fun and learned a lot about American traditions, culture, and vocabulary. Do you want me to make more lessons like this? If you do, put more in the comments below. And of course, make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. Of course, you're going to say those 2 words, will do, Jennifer, or done. Done, which means you've already done it. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And this video will definitely help you sound more American, so watch it right now.